What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race.
All right, Diesel heads, it's episode 8 of the Chronicles of Diesel, a monthly journey through Vin Diesel's filmography. My name is Ethan. With me here, again, is Devin.
These guys are cool, but not that cool.
That's your line?
I'm talking about us.
Yeah, okay. My favorite line, though, is, bitches, come.
I totally remember that one. I have so many
Oh
good
my
ones
God.
that I'm like, I'm going to go with the safer one. I want it to kind of represent us. We're cool, but not that cool.
Well, I mean, the line I said also kind of works, too.
Is this guy going to hump my leg? That's another one.
That's a good one, too. Have
you been to any diners lately?
Yeah, we're diner finalists. Yeah. So we're my brain is all just like confuzzled. What movie did we see again? What was it called?
XXx.
I feel like I watch those like every night. Like, how is this? This is a lot different than what I'm used to. No, yeah, we watched the 2002 Vin Diesel classic film called XXx. That's how you pronounce it. It's written XXX.
All caps.
Sometimes you only capitalize the middle one.
Yeah, and
not the two on the side.
Cage there, the newer one, right? Pretty sure that
No,
one's
because like
X,
some
lowercase
publications,
X, big X.
some publications of this first movie that we watched today have that middle X be capitalized. It's interesting.
Sounds like a brand issue.
Yeah, well, especially it's doing one of those things where like the middle thing is closer to the camera. So does that count as capitalized or not? You know what I mean? Like the
Or is
other
it
two are
like-
behind it.
Is it like a... Because, even with titles, sometimes you just all caps it anyways, even though the title isn't normally, when you write it out, wouldn't be caps.
Right.
Like, you might write Venom in all caps for the actual, like, graphic, but when you're going in the theaters, it's
exactly.
capital V only.
Exactly. How many movies have that are like one word, let's just say, aren't all caps?
Cars?
Okay, sure. I guess. I don't remember.
I don't know.
We're going to Google cars because we don't need to because this movie is full of cars. Yeah,
And
we
it's not a
watched
Fast
XXX.
and Furious movie.
No, surprise me. We'll get there. Before we go into a deep dive into the movie, which is back in the past 2002, a post 9/11 world, for the first time, I think, for us, we are going to jump to the past of last month, which we won't have too much data, I don't think.
You think that?
Oh damn. Okay, we're gonna see what Vin Diesel's been up to. I don't know what do we call this. You never decided what you want to call your
Today I'm
your
calling it
contribution.
DNN. Diesel News
DNN.
Network.
Okay.
So welcome to DNN, your monthly recap of everything Vin Diesel during this month for October 2020.
What did he wear on Halloween?
I don't know
What-
because we're recording on the 22nd, so I don't know if he's doing anything for Halloween. But you can always check his Instagram for that. I
Which
guess you can do
we
my
can't
job.
be bothered to do. Exactly.
But yeah, so I use my main source of information every month. I'm pulling it mostly from Instagram. I do a Google search to make sure he's not doing anything too crazy. Like the one month I found he was doing an ad for some Polish like scooter or whatever it was, motorcycle.
That was Korean, but you're close, I think.
Whatever. It's in the East, far from here. Yeah, so... And I've been tracking how many followers he's getting on Instagram, because that's his biggest social media, I believe. Yes, it is. So last month, that's September, he was at 65.9 million followers on Instagram. Can you guess how much he went up? Because he's always going up. He never trends down.
Well, if he goes up too much, then he finally surpasses me on Instagram, which I don't like. So I'm going to say he went up just shy of a million.
Pretty close, kinda. He went up 66.3 million. So
Okay.
he gained a lot, and I wonder if it has something to do with "Feel Like I Do," the single he dropped. Maybe more people.
I could imagine, yeah. I was
and-
expecting you to be like, it doubled. He's at 120.
But yeah, on Instagram he had a total of 8 posts which is, compared to his last couple months, is a lot, I would say. But in a good Vin Diesel month, that's like solid. That's a normal amount. But yeah, he had 8 posts this month, and 3 of them are videos. And the first one I saw here, which I thought was important, was on October 6th. He's sitting in his pool, which is hella nice, by the way, at least from a little bit I can see. And his home is like on the water somewhere. I think it's probably in LA or something, right? And in the distance, you see a little rainbow. And he says, "See that rainbow behind me?" By the way, he's also listening to "Feel Like I Do" in the background.
Of course he is.
Got to plug. He was got to plug. And he says, "See the rainbow behind me? It's a sign of brighter things to come." And I felt that. Because right now it does feel like the world's pretty bleak. So Vin's always there for my wholesome content to just bring me back up, to carry me home. But in the video, he gives a shout out to all his fans for letting him step out of his comfort zone. He's talking about making music. And he's also thanking everyone for nominating him in the People's Choice Awards. He's nominated for 3 awards. Can you guess what those are?
I mean, best
for this year.
And is this just for movies, or is it just a general award for anything?
Yes, it's movies.
Just for films.
Yes.
So the song is exempt. I would say male lead film, whatever you call that, best actor or something like that. Best action scene, maybe. And I don't know. I guess he was only in one movie this year. Does the video game count? I don't know. I'll just say best line if there's something like that.
Well, he said 3 in the video, but I only see 2, so maybe he's confused. Maybe he's just like, I get so many awards, it's crazy. Maybe I misread. But the 2 that he is for, he has movie actor for Bloodshot.
Yeah.
And then action star for Bloodshot.
Okay.
And he's been
Basically
nominated in
the
the past for action movie actor in 2016, 2014, 2012, 2010, and then also in 2010 he got action movie actor. So yeah, he's always, every like movie he does, it seems like he gets action movie actor award, which is surprising. But I think he won in 2016, which was Fast 7, and he had a speech about Paul Walker. That's like a big moment in those awards for him. But
you can't just give it up, huh?
Jesus.
He's got to keep bringing up this dead horse.
Speaking of horses, he did make a post of him walking a horse.
Oh, nice.
Which I thought was cute. So yeah, he's nominated for those awards. We'll see if he wins. I don't know when they come out, but we'll find out in a future news episode or whatnot. The other important ones that I saw in terms of, most of the important ones were videos. He did a video in October. Let's see when this one is. Double check. I believe it's 13th. Yes. It's just him like in a golf cart going somewhere, and he's listening to a song, but he's like lip syncing it in a way. And not lip syncing because he's singing it, but the music's definitely a little bit louder. And he says, "Feels like I do. Hit the Billboard charts. Who would have thought? Haha, you inspire me. Gracias. All love always." So he gives a shout out once again. We're on the billboards, baby. Who would have thought? Not me.
A quick note. Last month when we talked about the post about his song, he says like Kyo or whatever, Kigo something. That's the name of like the producer or whatever.
Gotcha.
That put it together.
Gotcha.
The beat mixer or whatever the specific role of.
I think
that's
producer,
that's someone's
yeah.
name. That's someone's name.
Another video he did was with a bunch of these like young kids. Everyone's wearing masks, by the way. And they're in a golf cart again. He likes to go golfing or something, or maybe he just has a huge ass amount of land. Yeah, so he's just like he has to golf cart everywhere. Maybe. And the caption is, "Do you even TikTok, bro? Haha."
Damn.
And I don't. They're kind of like listening
he?
to music, and I don't know if it's Vin Diesel music. It might be. It's a little bit slower than "Feel Like I Do," but it sounds like him singing in the background.
Unreleased tracks.
Yeah, like I think maybe he's hinting it. But he tagged all the dudes who are with him, and one dude's like a bodybuilder or a model or whatever. So, cool. Then there's the horse post, like I said. And then he went on the Ryan Seacrest show or podcast, and they talked about Feels Like I Do. And he also, Vin says, congrats again on your People's Choice nomination. So I guess he's going up against Ryan Seacrest, possibly. I'm not sure. Probably not.
That guy couldn't care less about any awards.
But he was on there. Did that. I didn't listen to it because it seems like it was really long. And news is always moving, man. We gotta keep going. You gotta keep going.
Sure.
And then the
sure,
big
it's also
news.
very boring.
The big news that might make you frustrated.
This would be the third time in a row that it's big breaking news.
We're in the golden age right now of Vin Diesel social media news right now. I don't know if y'all know. So enjoy this moment because it might be a couple months in the future we get nothing. But
you said this might break me?
This might break you. This might break you. Are you ready?
Oh, God,
I'm reading this caption verbatim. It's
okay.
It's a picture of him in the studio wearing some Sony headphones. Got a nice pop filter. You ready?
Yeah.
Y'all know how deep I go into the films I make. This year there was no film production. An artist must have a creative outlet. You who made my Facebook first to 100 million likes, I'm assuming you didn't say that, but first to 100 million, you who have always encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone, saved me because I was able to make music this year, will always love you. 10 days until the next single. And that was 2 days ago.
No, that's going to be right at the end of this fucking month. We got to re-record another thing.
Yes, we will. And he said hashtag days are gone.
Well, that's the name of the fucking song then.
Yep. And then Chance the Rapper wrote, real talk.
So someone played Days Gone from last year.
Chance the Rapper had the top comment. There you go.
Well,
it's usually like a girl's butt, and it's like, do you want to see my photos, you likey?
Yeah.
It's like
I'm lonely up in my
good,
rich
thank
mansion.
you, Chance, for saving us. And then his latest post is him with an elephant, and it just says, we will find a way or we will make one. Barca. I don't know what that means, but I agree.
He's going to skin the elephant so he has something to stay warm with. I called it burqa. Well, if by the time that this posts, there has been confirmation of another Vin Diesel single, I guess you'll hear about it right now. All right, so we're back. Yeah, it's the day before Halloween, like a week after I was supposed to edit this episode, but we're finally here to talk about Days Are Gone, the 2019 video. No, the 2020 Vin Diesel song.
It's 2019. Who cares anymore?
Yeah, so that happened. I guess he's doing these once a month now, which is cool.
Nothing's more spooky than a Vin Diesel single on Spotify.
I mean, I was definitely scared, but no, not really. I don't know. What did you think about this song?
Well,
let's keep our thoughts brief.
All I'm going to say is that I was like, it's probably going to sound similar to his first single, which I enjoyed. It's not my cup of tea, but I
wouldn't go back
it.
to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick it out of a lineup.
And this one, which has the cover art is him as a kid. This one had the same vibe, I guess, but it was more of a looking back on the days. Days are gone, obviously. The days have gone by. We don't have any official lyrics yet, but from what I remember, most of it is just do you remember the times we didn't have to worry about anything? I'm like, are you talking about when you were kids or last year?
Because he kept saying paycheck, paycheck. So I'm like high school
yeah.
job, dude,
you don't have to worry about a paycheck ever again. You're good, Vin. If anything, I want to tax you a lot, but I love you, but I want to tax you a lot.
That's true. I didn't even think about that particularly. I think my assumption is more of this is a relatable type of vibe he's going for, not me particularly hear my grievances about how annoying my life is. I don't think that was his angle, was that. But
no, it's definitely more of
maybe he's not talking about financial stuff. Maybe he's talking about kids and gotta go to the stupid soccer game. I don't know. If I were to,
it's definitely more of when he was 13 or 16 when we both had, everyone's had their first job and you get that $100 because you're getting paid shit, and you're like, wow, this is all going to go to gas to drive to that job, but you know what? This is cool. You know, it's a grind, and I think it just has that kind of vibe where just like, remember the time when like that was your biggest concern was going to school,
to work a 4-hour job and being like, this is going to be forever.
Yeah.
And now it's like 4 hours, man. I wish my job
yeah, I know. I
was
wish
4
I could
hours a
work
day.
16 hours a
Damn,
week.
it's like not working. I do that for free. You know, that's how minuscule it is. To me, I think that I like this song better than the last one. Feel
Really?
like I do. Yeah, I think. Jeez. Well, number one, Vin Diesel's trying, and I appreciate him. You know what I mean? And I love the effort. He's not amazing as a vocalist. I think the way he enunciates certain words and phrases, like they don't flow particularly well, as if he's talking like how I was just saying things. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I don't know. I'm not a musical genius. Clearly, as I gesture to nothing really in particular, but you know, clearly, I feel like I would have heard someone else sing those lyrics in a very similar way to how we would want to have them, you know, pronounced, but like better. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like,
I mean, that comes with
it's
experience
just
too.
not very well
The
done.
thing is, Vin might be, well, from what we've heard from like commercials and stuff, is that like I don't think he's a bad singer. I think he's a decent singer, but at the same time,
I'm sure if we stripped away all of the, you know, the editing and stuff, I'm sure he's decent.
Yeah,
but most of that comes through effort.
But at the same time, that effort and just practice,
Effort
like,
as opposed to talent. Yeah,
it's a little bit different too. And like, let's say this is like a old timey thing to do, when everyone comes over and you play the piano and you sing, and everyone's like, "Wow, you're so good! You should record." And like, it's more of a like, "Yeah, you're good, but not that good." Like, he definitely is, I think, in that area of, I just have a lot of money and I can spend it, so I don't blame him. So I would probably do the same thing.
I can force my hobby onto other people kind of money.
Yeah.
You're going to listen to my song now.
Yeah,
I got a record
like I said, I don't think it's
company
bad
to
or anything. It's
produce
definitely, like, if Pharrell Williams did this, it'd be different. You know what I mean?
This is a D-side.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, I do think this is a better song than Feel Like I Do, both in terms of what you want to pull out of lyrics, but not that I really think too much thought went into either song's lyrics other than a vibe. You know what I mean? And I'm sure I'm sure he's happy with what he wrote. I'm assuming he wrote the lyrics. It'd be weird if he didn't. But the way the music is constructed, especially early on before it flows out of its first verse, to me feels more computationally pleasing to the brain. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it, you know, like music is counting essentially. Like it triggers certain synapses in your brain to, you know, in a pleasing way of, like,
easygoing beach
I
music.
like doing this math, easy math. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1 plus 2.
Right, exactly. And I feel like this song, mainly in the first like minute and a half, when it flows into what the repeated song is going to be like for the rest of, you know, the duration, it kind of, it's a little bit more complex, but in a way that's also just mellowingly simple, or like pleasing rather. So I'm like, I appreciate this song more than the other, but just like the other, it's not something where I'd be like, what do I want to listen to? Oh yeah, that's me typing out on my phone, I guess.
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's me.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I like the first one a little bit more just because it's a little bit more, I think, poppy. But they're both, like, not my cup of tea. It's definitely, like I said, you're going to the beach and you just want something on in the background, but you're not paying it, like, too much attention. You're not trying to be like, man, wow, I really like the time signature in this. You know what I mean? You're just like, I'm here just to, like, hit the volleyball to my wife, who actually hates me now, but I have this music on, you know, it's a good time. The kids are in the water. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting.
Yeah.
Poppy beach dad vibes.
Now that we know for a fact that the song came out, because obviously 10 minutes ago when we were talking about this, the song hadn't come out because it was half a month ago when we recorded that, which was 10 minutes ago. Now that we know that this is the second song in a row, do we expect another song next month?
Well, here's the thing: at this point,
you
do
know,
we expect like an album or an EP? I think at the very least we got if you're doing 2 songs, there's got to be an EP.
What do you consider the cap song count on an EP?
5, 6 tops. I guess it depends on the length of the song.
And
Obviously, if one
depends,
song
too,
is 12 minutes, then no, that's an album with a really long song on it. But 5, 3 to 4 minute songs.
I've seen albums that are 5, 6 songs, and they don't call themselves EPs or singles.
I don't know what the definition
so
is
it's
anymore.
I guess it really all depends on how seriously you're taking this release.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's how I always interpret it too. Is that no, this is an album. All right, we spent a couple more weeks on this than we do normally for an EP. But yeah, I think we're either going to get one more single next month or a release date for an EP, or this could just be like we originally thought that this was going to be a one and done song. Hey, I'm just trying this to see how people react. But the fact that this was ready to go, that makes me think there's more. There's got to be more. And then in that one Instagram video with the 3 TikTok boys, he was playing a song on the radio that sounded way too much like him. It was so hard. It was kind of hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure it was an unreleased song. So I think there's more out there,
waiting to be discovered.
I mean, our dream is a Christmas album, but I don't know if we're getting that.
I just mainly want that just for the album art of him dressed as Santa.
That'd be great, dude.
And in a way that is both, humorously funny and a family friendly kind of, get it? It's a guy that generally doesn't play these kinds of figures in movies dressed like Santa, but also funny in the sense that it probably is shot poorly and his costume is probably poorly made and they did it anyway, in
the
that
background
kind of
is a drawing of a fireplace instead of just him actually being next to a fireplace.
Yeah,
they just threw it together. Some bad Photoshop.
Exactly.
You
can see that just the resolution on certain elements they photoshopped in there is lower than the others.
Yeah.
Some don't have drop shadows, Well, we will find out if there is another song in the future. So let's go back to the past to talk about more of the present before we delve back into the past of 2002. Yay, that was fun, wasn't it? Man, I really love the Chronicles of Diesel giving us topical news. Let's pretend for the rest of this episode that we didn't see or hear that. All right, Devin?
I'm telling my future self this is going to be amazing. I'm just saying. It's going to be amazing. I loved it.
Are we done? Can I move on?
Yes, we're good. I think that is it for me. Yes, so until next month, that was I almost said BNN. DNN. I don't know what B would stand for, but
so if you represent DNN, are you the Tubin of DNN?
Sure.
XXX was a movie that released in 2002. It had a budget of $88.3 million. Can you guess, Devin, how much money this movie made in the box office?
What was the budget again?
$88 million.
I'm gonna go 180.
Higher.
250?
$277.4 million.
Okay.
So that was a pretty big success. Directed by Rob Cohen, who was also the director of The Fast and the Furious.
Okay.
Produced by Neil H. Moritz. I almost said Mortiz, but it's Moritz. Yes, this was a movie that came out and everyone liked it. I would imagine, because it was a pretty good movie. Are you ready to go deep into the guts of this engine, of this motorcycle engine, and figure out everything that happened in XXX?
Let's do it.
All right. So I usually write out I watch the movie and write my notes as I watch it for the recap of it, right? So sometimes I'm pausing every now and then. Sometimes if the scene is long and not uneventful, but not I need to retell every single thing that happened here, I write as I go about the scene prior, and then, maybe I pause every now and then. But so I try to really do it in that voice, and I try not to go back and rewrite anything that way. And I forgot that that's my method, because I thought I was just giving my opinions for a second. So the first line was just damn, that title sequence though. It's just because of all of the stuff popping up, and how XXX pops up on the screen. But we open with a man getting attacked in Prague or whatever, which I did not know was Prague until later, so I guessed it right, by a Gordon Ramsay looking dude who is then attacked by Russian boys.
Hell yeah.
He doesn't look like Gordon Ramsay for very long, but in that initial thing, Gordon Ramsay breaks into a building that looks like an ancient Roman stone building that was a part of John Wick 2. But instead, it's a concert featuring the Wiggles, everyone's favorite Australian TV show.
No, I was super excited that it was Rammstein. I'm a big Rammstein fan, and like when it first opened with the Firefly, like they played the entire song, which is like usually in movies when you have an artist maybe do a song for it, you cut it down, right? They played the entire song, and I like how they started right for it because I was hyped. I'm like, going into this movie, I think I can't speak for you, I guess, but going into this movie, I was cautiously hyped because I'm like, okay, I've heard this movie is like fun. It's fun Vin Diesel film, and last time I had that was with Pitch Black, and I was kind of disappointed. So this one I was like, please don't let me down. No. Don't do it. And then it starts off with Rammstein. I'm like, okay, you're already giving me a good appetizer. And they had Rammstein, and then it was just like Eastern. It was like like you said, it was like John Wick 2, an Eastern European like club
temple.
And I've always wanted to go to one of these. This is like a bucket list thing for me. I want to go to an Eastern European country and go to these underground clubs where everyone's wearing like leather and they have like black hair or blue hair or something. Like I just want to just observe because I just find that shit so fascinating. So like, yeah, the opening sequence for me was like, fuck yeah, this looks so great. I don't know, I was just so excited.
So a couple little facts about this. Number one, it's not really a fact because it's not. People write this down when I'm looking up information about this movie. You see a lot of trivia that's user generated. You can write whatever you want as the trivia, and then people upvote or whatever. One of the ones that was upvoted quite often enough to be creditable is such like a stupid. They say, "Oh, if this is an Easter egg, there are people in the crowd of that concert wearing T-shirts about the band that actually is that band." I'm like, yeah, no shit, they went to go see the band.
Yeah,
like, it's not like they're pretending to be a different band.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It'd be different if like, oh, we're Anarchy 98, the band, and then okay, that's an Easter egg, sure, but like nothing was saying that they weren't who they were.
Yeah, and it was all them, by the way. It wasn't like there's actors and only one of them was there. So, and I want to say that the concert where there's all that fire and stuff, that's what they do normally. So it was pretty cool that they're like, let them be themselves.
And obviously they sing too, not in English. What this movie does for subtitles, at least on Amazon Prime Video, is it will just say speaks in Russian. For every language used except for the singing here, the only thing that's subtitled for the songs is just bang bang. And I don't know why did they even bother? Because I get it. We're not supposed to. We're not supposed to know what the Russians are saying in Russian. That's the point. Is that they're speaking a language that we don't know. One of the fun facts is, I guess, two Russians are speaking to each other, and it's not like small talk. They're supposed to be talking, and what they're saying in Russian is like, "So what are you doing?" And the other person said, "It's cold as shit out here. And I don't want to fucking be here."
I wish
stuff like that.
Like anytime there's any movies with like multiple languages where they don't show subtitles, I'm always sad because I wish I knew every language because I would love to see it. Like you said, is it just small talk? Is it bullshit? And it's like, haha, American audience don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how many times that's happened in movies where they're like they might even be saying that verbatim, American dumb. You know what I mean? Like we would never know. Yeah,
I would actually love to see movies that are smartly made where it's something like this, international spy thriller or whatever, Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible 7, let's say. And it's something like this where, yes, Tom Cruise just doesn't know the language of the villains or whatever, this place he's in. Maybe not, let's just not cast the foreigners as villains all the time. But you know what I mean, where he doesn't know it. And yes, it's not subtitled because he doesn't know it. And it's supposed to be a surprise on what they're saying. But then another layer to that where it's like, okay, now you can know what they are saying. If you know what I mean, like you have two options almost of but you'd have to Well, no, I just mean like, oh, if you want to watch the movie again as a director's, like a DVD bonus feature, you get the subtitles for the other languages too. Just like, hey, you already know what happens, so it's not a surprise. Here
they could always pull like a Matrix where like, the character learns that language later on in the film and then understands everything.
Yeah.
There you go, Matrix 4. You can do that.
Yeah, they're still making that. In any case, yes, it's a concert featuring the live-action Australian kids show The Wiggles. I'm kidding. That's what I wrote down, though. Russian leader is there. He didn't have a name at this point. For the rest of the recap, I just called him Russian leader, but his name is like Yogi.
Yeah, he was Russian, but there was some Czech dudes, and that got kind of confusing. And then that's my ignorant American showing, where I'm like, are they Czech or are they Russian? Just Eastern European bad guy.
I thought they were German at first until they started talking. At least the people that were chasing Gordon Ramsay, who is pushing through the crowd, but a sniper gets him, and everyone thinks that's a part of the act. They even have him spotty surf, but dead. It's like that's.
And they've done stuff like that. They have this for a little while. They had this one dude who would jump on stage, and the singer would set the other guy, that dude, on fire. But it was all a stunt, but it made it look so real that reports were like, did they just murder someone on stage? I don't know. So I wouldn't put it past them to pretend the dude is shot on stage and everyone would be like, yeah. But so yes, he is shot, and whatever he was carrying is now in the hands of a Russian leader. We then cut to a macro zoom in CG shot from the sky to Agent Augustus Gibbons, a scarred and serious man played by Samuel L. Jackson. And I will say, that zoom-in shot was actually good for a 2002 movie. We're in DC, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah. He's being briefed on what we saw earlier in the movie. His plan is to hire losers to become government killing tools, since Anarchy 99, a.k.a. the bad guys, if you couldn't tell, can know when someone is a trained killer. So instead, they're going to train people to be killers, and hopefully they don't know that these are trained killers.
Yeah, they're like, we have to go stop Silent Night or whatever it's called. Let's hire a stunt driver.
We'll talk about the code names later in the movie, and how they don't make sense. But meanwhile, at a shitty-looking country club, Xander Cage steals a car from a very shitty senator that wants to ban rap and video games, and I'm sure that senator is based off the one that actually did want to ban video games. Because
I want to say that this first scene with Vin, like I said, I'm already now excited. My tummy is warmed up from the opening scene. I'm like, okay. Then they have Vin Diesel run away from cops.
He has cameras strapped to the car by his boys, while 7 police cruisers chase him. He tells us all about the bad man and jumps his car off a bridge and parachutes away.
So yeah, I thought it was cool that that he was doing a vlog before we even had YouTube. I feel like if they ever redid this movie, you could kind of just do the same setup with just the dude's holding a phone and it's on Twitch or something. But I appreciated that, and I how he kept calling
this was
the dude.
At least edited. Because he had all those cameras and he kept looking to the one he wanted to talk to, so they had to edit it.
Yeah, and I liked that even though the guy's name was Dick, but he kept saying it you are a dick, and then eventually did say you are a dick.
Yeah.
But the one line that I first wrote down out of all my notes is "It's music, Dick."
Yes. And then it's the only education we got talking about video games. And damn, that's not. That's a statement, a real statement, but is it though? I don't know if that actually makes sense.
It's vague enough that you're
you could argue that hip hop would be a more appropriate thing to say that for than video games, but maybe that's just the angry gamer.
It's video games, Dick.
Yeah, exactly. This is the first big fun fact I got for you. So Vin Diesel has all of his boys helping him, is his crew. You know what I mean? Or Xander Cage is all of his boys, his crew. And they have it all set up. They strap the cameras onto the car. You know what I mean? He's going. They're also filming the car from different spots away. They set up the ramp ahead of time, and they got a crew down at the ground to catch it in a car. Do you know who's driving that car? Who says, "Put the cameras away and let's go get him"? Now, what if I give you a little hint?
Okay.
Later in the movie, someone tells Vin Diesel that he's such a good athlete, he should have a video game. What if I told you the driver was Tony Hawk?
What?
Yes. When I found that out, I literally opened the movie back up.
I know what he looks like, too.
Back.
Why did I not recognize him?
Because it's brief, I guess, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. But yes, I watched it again. It's clearly Tony Hawk driving the car to
That's
go
cool.
catch him.
Dude, that was like prime Tony Hawk time, too.
Yeah. No, Tony Hawk's making a big return. He did that thing where he did like a 900 holding a glass of milk or whatever.
I meant just like being like such a big household name. By the way, did he do his own stunt there?
He did most of his stunts.
Did he do that one? Because that one looked, unless that was all CG, which I don't think it was, they definitely launched that car off that bridge, right?
I believe that they did that for sure. There's moments, like a lot of the scenes, they're wearing helmets that they CG off. Well, okay, they don't CG the helmets off. They CG another head over it.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
At least back then, they CG'd over the helmet. Like, they didn't digitally remove them, I guess. They digitally put his head back over it. So, for a lot of the motorcycle stunts especially, they did that. He did most of his stunts. There was a scene at the very end of this movie, one of the final in the car kind of jumping kind of scenes. I don't remember which one it is, where he was too sick to do it himself. So, a stuntman did it instead. But, this is, I might as well say it now because I don't know when this happens in the movie. I'm sure when we get to scenes where we know that there are pillars, I guess I can mention it there. But I'll mention it now since we're on the stuntman stuff. A stuntman named Harry O'Connor died during filming by hitting a pillar during a parachute scene. He hits the pillar and dies.
That sucks.
Yep. And
that just shows you like how much
what
risk
triple
they put
sucks. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's one of those, as obviously there's contracts and there's a stuntman union. What's the official name? Not stuntman.
It's something
stunt
I know you're talking
stunt
about.
double union.
Yeah.
All this kinds of stuff. I'm sure, like, hey, if I die on set, a lot of money gets paid to my loved one. It's one of those things, I'm sure, which obviously doesn't replace a dead man. But what sucks even more, though, is that they didn't need to do that take. They already did a take successfully. They wanted to do another one, and that's the one he died on.
That's even.
They used the first take in the film too.
I get, but
so it's almost like
you don't predict someone to die, but that sucks.
And you do want to have more than one take of something if you can,
because you don't know if like maybe the angle is off. And
right in the background is the director with his pants down.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it did look like he did his own stunt there when he jumped off the bridge, because they had like multiple angles and stuff.
Yeah,
and I want to say like that, like we've watched a decent amount of action movies, I think collectively, and I want to say that like that still was pretty cool, especially for 2002, and like him jumping off and then doing the parachute. Like all it takes is him like that parachute to lock, or not open. It just gets locked up, and like that bridge was tall, but it isn't that tall where it's like you only have maybe like 5 seconds to make sure that parachute is good. So I appreciate that stunt. If Vin actually did it, that's even more impressive.
What was the movie where it was a big action movie? Was it John Wick? No, I don't think it was, because it was a movie we saw together where like the person did all of his own stunts, and it showed because they never had to cut away. It was in a lot of car kind of stuff. And
I know Keanu Reeves uses a stunt double for sure.
Okay, so it's not John Wick. What movie was it? And it was a movie we watched together. It was like, and you can tell because, like, he'll do a thing and the camera won't leave to cut away to get rid of the stunt double. It's just, and then he steps out of the car or whatever it is. It'll come back to me later. But it was very impressive. Like, damn, that's why he's a badass. Whoever this person is. Kurt Russell? I don't know. Later that night, Xander Cage returns home to it's like a giant like flat he lives in, a giant studio that has like skate rinks in it. Like
it's like a indoor skate park, but also I live here. It's really weird.
Yeah, exactly. I just assumed it was his home. It might have,
maybe home, not. But like, he did have like his jacket on, like as if he's a long.
And he
day
wasn't
at work.
expecting a party.
Yeah,
because it's a surprise party. It's a huge ass surprise party just for him. All of his supportive friends are there, and hot people too. He even gets a pitch for a video game based off of him. Everyone's partying, and as Xander Cage says, "I'm untouchable," the windows are blown out and his place is raided. Xander Cage gets tricked. Xander Cage wakes up in a diner at the counter, and the waitress is nervous, and the place is robbed. Xander Cage takes the two guys out and meets Samuel L. Jackson, who tells him it was all fake.
Good
and then
job.
Xander Cage tells him, "Yeah, I know it was fake." This was like a really weird scene because
Really?
Devin, if you were, I mean, okay, yes, let's say you were shot and you pass out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he looks at the tranq dart, so I guess in those brief moments of lucidness, he could maybe put the brain power together. And I guess they say he's really smart in this movie, so maybe he does, right? So you've been taken out by people, and you wake up in a restaurant as if like you weren't.
Maybe they're trying to do it like, oh, maybe it's a bad dream, but maybe it's like how I interpret it. Maybe I'm forgiving this movie because I did like it a lot, and like,
Yeah, I liked it
in
too.
action movies, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, whatever, sure, like that's cool, I don't care. And like I did like this scene for what it was. I thought it showed how smart he is and of reading people, and I love how like confident he is and kind of a dick. I thought that was cool. But I guess maybe you could argue that like he's like, oh, I just had like a weird dream, and like maybe I was always here, or like he's kind of just reacting. Like immediately, he's like, okay, I just woke up. There's this woman I'm at a diner and this woman's trying to serve me. Okay, I'm just gonna go with it. And it's kind of just like all happening at once. You kind of just go with it. But
yeah,
maybe he's already on edge, and that's why he's like looking for her to be suspicious, because he's like, I tranked. So yeah, it's still a little weird. I guess they could have done that better, but I forgave it like immediately because I was like, this scene's cool.
Hey, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I will say though, it's not super clever, because he gives Samuel Jackson 3 reasons why he knew it was fake, but he never acts on why it was fake, and the payoff is as if he didn't know it was fake at all anyway. But it's like the 3 reasons. Or is it the newspaper, the fact that the dude has a police-issued gun and he's not a police officer, and that the woman's wearing heels? They all, I don't know, they all feel like they were written in to be reasons why he knows it. As a thing where, like, yes, like they come from, like the scene was written after the reasons that he knew it wasn't real. Does that make sense? They feel like they're way too, oh yes, I know this and that. It's like, okay, I don't know, I'm not explaining myself very well.
Like Samuel L. Jackson, let's say,
No. I mean, I'm writing the movie.
He knew that, like, if you're smart enough, you would recognize.
No, what I mean is that in terms of writing the movie, it feels like, all I'm trying to say is it doesn't feel like it's written very well, in the sense that it's like not super subtle about anything. It's like all of a sudden, yeah, and I knew, and he had that newspaper, and then you had that gun that I don't think you even see, and then her in the heels. It almost feels like it was bam, 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 we write their things that he can just know it's fake, instead of like, maybe if they pick just one of like, why is that man reading the newspaper from like the other day on a Sunday when you wouldn't, or something like that. It just felt like, oh, all of a sudden this was fake. Oh yeah, and I guess he knew that because of like 3 big reasons in the span of a minute that he was on camera. I don't know, maybe I'm nitpicking a scene for no reason, but to me it felt weird because of those reasons. So he meets Samuel Jackson and then is tranked again. He's knocked back out for his next test. So we're in a plane now with a few other people that also passed the test, I guess. There's only 2, but it's hard to tell at first. They crack jokes and then are kicked off the plane. And like, does that happen in real life? Or it's like, hey, we're going to give you all a parachute, but tether you together
he basically
like that?
Was
rolling.
He was captured and then just like thrown out of a plane. Like, it's just, in general, it just sounds like a fucked up thing to do to someone. And also, like, they're all like, yeah, whatever, man, like, haha, this is fun. And it's like, we're in the middle of you don't even know where you are. Like, they don't even realize until later that they're like, oh, we're in Mexico or wherever it is, you know what I mean? Like,
I get that, like, these government people don't actually have to let these people live, because like they're awful people or they're losers, although like yes, when Samuel L. Jackson is pitching this to whatever government person he's talking to, whatever CIA or whatever operative, it's like, yes, these are criminals and contract killers and blah, blah, blah. But the only person that we ever know about what they do is Vin Diesel's character, Xander Cage, who is not a trained killer, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, he's not on that level.
Danger, possibly, but he's not actively killing people.
You know what I mean? And he's, well, reckless endangerment that he could have killed someone with that driving car. But, like, the other two people, we have no idea anything about them at all. And does that mean that they are also like Vin Diesel, or are they stone cold killers, or like what? Like, I get this is like a thing we see in a lot of movies now where it's a bunch of losers and like they have to now work for the government or work, you know, bad guys have to be good guys. Or what are we, a Suicide Squad? You know what I mean? We see that all the time. What if they said
now. That'd blow my mind if they're like, wow, they're so ahead of the time.
What are we, some kind of Suicide Squad? No, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
And he says, I am Groot at the camera.
He just turns and looks. I will be Groot.
Yeah.
They're in Colombia and are taken captive by a bunch of people who is led by Danny Trejo's character, El Jefe. I don't think they actually say El Jefe.
I don't think they say his
name. But
that's
what he's listed as, is El Jefe. Maybe it's just supposed to be El Jeff, but it has an E at the end. Who tries to torture them, but all three finalists think they're all set up like in the diner. And they're all laughing and they're all goofing around. Once they realize it's for real, though, the place is shot up by chopper fire, helicopter fire.
See, I thought this part was good because it did make, like, I actually believed I'm like, oh yeah, this is fake again. Like, they're just upping the ante now. They're like, oh, like I had part of me was like, yeah, this is probably the real deal. Yeah. But part of me is like, oh, maybe it is fake because Vin's like saying a lot of stuff that I'd be like, okay, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, why is he's speaking in English, or why is he saying shut up, like those things he just wouldn't say, you know, like, and I'm like, okay, right. Maybe I'm kind of believing this. And then like you got the blood on the machete,
the blood.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, it does smell like blood. Also, I thought he was going to do the arm thing again from Pitch Black for a second. I was waiting for him to do it.
This is also not in this scene, but right prior before they get captured was the first moment where I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to be the quote Devin's going to use. Is where the little boy says, "Oh no, gringos!" runs away.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I tried to use a Vin Diesel quote this time, but that is another good one.
Sometimes it's tough because some of the other characters have better quotes than Vin Diesel in that regard. Like, no, bitches,
gringos.
Come! Oh no, gringos! Yeah. So one of those three finalists, besides Xander Cage, is called TJ, and he's shot. Xander Cage carries him while the other one runs away. The one that was earlier stealing I guess it's not stealing, but the cocaine, he was pulling the plants or whatever. I have no idea how cocaine is made. I guess that's how you farm it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually watched a Tom Cruise movie about when he was helping that one dude, the big cartel man in South America. And anyway, trying to get them a way out, Xander Cage runs through explosions to get a bike for him and TJ. He jumps the bike in the air like 8 times, and a bunch of action stuff happens. He gets the bike to TJ, but they're captured by the good guys. And I say that in quotes because it's hard to tell if they were actually our guys or their guys as government or just the bad guys as bad guys.
And they were getting shot at, though, still. Like, if that is the U.S. government or maybe unmarked, when you usually go in other countries, you tend to go as unmarked, but everyone knows where you're from. Usually you're like, oh, you're either Russia or the United States. I don't know who else it would be. But yeah, they just start just lighting up the place and putting all these people in danger. And like, and later on, you know, Samuel L. Jackson says like, oh, you passed the test or whatever, right? It's like, you killed your test subjects, though, which I found interesting.
Back up, though. I'm 90% sure that this was real.
Oh, yeah. No, it was real. I'm just saying, like...
And the helicopter was the Colombian government.
Oh, you think it was the Colombian? Okay. I thought it was unmarked.
Because they were speaking in Spanish, which I guess... I mean, if you're going to a place that speaks Spanish, you wouldn't speak in English to tell them to you know, relinquish their weapons. I guess you would speak in Spanish, but it sounded Hispanic, the man speaking on the chopper. I assumed that, hey, this was a setup to locate them or these coke cartel dealers or manufacturers, whatever term you would want to use, and like we're cooperating with them because we just don't have the jurisdiction to go to Colombia and drop people there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
But
like my thing though is, did our guys, the American guys, wait in the bushes until they got Xander Cage and just like let potential allies get killed by cartel people?
I guess.
You know?
But overall, I'll say this scene was like kind of insane. Like there's a lot of over the top motorcycle jumps, which a
lot of pyrotechnics.
And like I said, throughout this movie, or from the beginning of this movie, I was like, okay, cool. This looks super wacky in a good way. This seems super fun in a good way. Fun hopefully is good, but you know what I mean. And then this whole scene happens, and I'm like, they did a slow mo of him going through the barbed wire, and I'm like, cool, okay, it's a little weird, but I kind of like it. And at one point, they show his point of view, and they're like, he sees all the barns or whatever you want to call them, factories, looking like a ramp, and I'm like, oh shit! And then he did this huge ass explosion. I'm like, they probably only can do that in one take. Like, we're gonna blow up this building, and you're gonna ramp off it.
And apparently, all of the ways in which the pyrotechnics were used in that one jump that you're talking about, where he jumps the barn, the way they very carefully and technically placed them and timed them all and blew up the building, according to people, has never been done before in a movie. That specific way in which they use the pyrotechnics,
I believe
in
it,
conjunction with a motorcycle
like
and a building going away. I say going away, it blew up. But
yeah, I believe it, because there's this whole scene. I was like pretty impressed. So I'm like, okay, like I wish Fast and Furious like earlier on had this kind of shit, and like maybe they were inspired by this in a way. Or later on, they're like, okay, we know Vin's capable of selling these kind of scenes and doing a good job in them, so like let's keep doing this shit. So like, if anything, I was like, fuck, are we in Fast 5 already? Like, this is awesome. Like,
I will say, I enjoyed the scene. It wasn't a bad scene. It was fun. It felt like it went on too long because of the fact that it was in nighttime, and it was hard to tell who's who.
I kind of agree with that.
It just felt like it was hard to follow. I'm like, is he just driving around in a circle this whole time? It really felt like it.
At one point,
I get like everything is being blown up, and you can't just keep going where you're going. You need to redirect your course. I mean, I understand all that. It was hard to follow, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I guess like maybe they're, even though like some parts aren't realistic, maybe that's like they're trying to give it more of a realistic. Like, if an actual firefight happened, it would be so much more frantic than you would think, and like you wouldn't know where everyone's coming from. You're kind of just trying to run and move, keep moving. But yeah, I kind of agree it did go on a little long, but like in a way, I was like, once again, I kind of forgave it because I was like, sure, let's have this huge ass like
could be worse
Tony Hawk like Tony Hawk like stunt, or more like Evel Knievel, where it's just like you're gonna blow up this building and you're gonna ramp off it,
right?
Like, 50 meters off this motorcycle. Cool, why not? But yeah, I really liked it.
The next morning, in the wreckage, Samuel L. Jackson tells Xander Cage that he passed the test yet again. Xander Cage now has two options. He can either go to jail forever or be Samuel L. Jackson's lackey. And we don't hear his answer, but it's obvious what his answer is going to be, because a movie about him being in jail for 2 hours is probably boring. So, and like I said, it was hard to tell if this was either a line is said about the next. I don't have it verbatim, but it sounds like he's either it's Samuel Jackson or one of the other government people talking to Samuel Jackson, as Xander Cage kind of has already come to conscious, is now focused on Samuel Jackson's attention. Says something like the next Colombian army or whatever, fleet or whatever term he uses, is because coming shortly. And that for a second made me think, oh, this was an entirely staged thing and they're setting up for the next group of people. But no, like I had it really thinking back on it, no, that was all real probably, and it was a setup, and like put you in real action to see what it would be like, an actual reaction where you could die. I don't think we actually see the coke the guy that ran away with the coke, he probably just died.
I'm
We
assuming.
don't actually
Yeah.
see him. Yeah.
I also, it was kind of weird for Samuel Jackson's character to like try to tie in like patriotism into it. Like you could have just said you're either going to jail or you're not. You know what I mean? And he's like, he kind of like was like, I do this for my country. It's like, oh, okay, but you're also in Colombia. Like,
Well, I think he does. I don't think he's referring to that specific day. Of
but
action,
just like in general, I'm
but-
just like, okay, I just felt a little out. Like that was a little random. I'm like, you don't have to make it about country. Like I think it was totally fine if they were just like, do you want to be in jail for the rest of your life, or do you want to go away scot-free? I need you to do this crazy mission.
It is also one of those things where it's like, hey, you can feel a little bit better about yourself by doing what we want you to do. Here's a reason to feel good about yourself. Maybe it's one of those things. I do like Xander Cage's reactions though of like, I don't give a fuck about my country. Like you're all pigs, you're all cops.
Hell yeah, ACAB.
In any case, we cut to Europe, where Xander Cage begins his mission. He meets Milan Sova, head of the Czechoslovakian secret police. They don't like each other. Neither of them wants him to be here. And he basically gives him a place to stay, which is like another warehouse. But considering where he was living in America, it's probably not much of a downgrade. Milan Sova takes him to a nightclub so that they can get the Russian leader that we see at the beginning of this movie. It's weird how much like they set up, hey, I don't like you at all. And I understand where they went with that character later, like as if like, because obviously he wasn't going to matter. But it was weird of like, damn, this is a really weird setup of like, we barely see any interaction. He's not even briefed. We're just going to the thing.
Yeah, they're
You
like,
know what I mean?
What's funny is they put him on like a Lufthansa flight too, not even like a military. Like they have military flights that go from country to country. Like my cousin is stationed in Germany for the Air Force, and he's taken military flights home. You know what I mean? And it's funny they do that. Or that's funny they went with like, oh, he's just flying Lufthansa, which is like like a pretty big German air. It's like their American Airlines. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, okay. So he's like, he gets like, what, maybe economy class, and then you're gonna go do this secret mission and meet with this dude who barely knows anything, clearly.
What's even more funny, because obviously like that probably works for the entry into the mission because you are a no-name person. When Vin Diesel gives him a plane ticket in the opera scene much later, it's a commercial plane ticket. Like, motherfucker's going to be watched. He's going to get into an airport and get shot. You know what I mean? You're sending him to die. This is very interesting. But yeah, like there's like no even like plan. He's not even briefed on what he's doing. At least we don't see it.
Yeah, it was
it's
very
just like,
confusing.
we need you to talk to him. Okay. So Xander Cage begins by immediately ratting out who got him in for a favor with the Russian police.
I thought that was
great.
great.
With the Russian leader.
I thought it was great. Immediately he's like, fuck this guy. I'm just going to go use him to get what I need.
Hey, he's a cop. He has no idea. The man could have been like killed in front of him. You know what I mean?
And he's like, fuck it.
So he immediately rats him out, which gets him in favor with the Russian leader. And learning that he is the super cool extreme sports criminal, they let him in, and he begins his cover. And it was nice how much of like a dick he was to like the big Brutus blonde chiseled chin dude. Yeah. And then as soon as he learns that the dude's a fan of his, he's like, oh, hey man, I was like, thanks. Like, actually, thank you for saying that, you know. Xander Cage is pretending to be a representative of an American car buyer, and he makes a deal for 10 cars to get him in the door, to get, you know, his representative or his person he represents in the door. They then after the deal for $1.2 million, they party because that chiseled chin dude says, bitches, come. And a bunch of like extras, you know, women that are just paid for the one day to be on camera in a brief, you know, scene, an extra. They just kind of walk in. None of them are really all that excited, but like I think they were directed to be excited.
It's Eastern European women, man. They're just all like that, Ethan. Come on.
Just like detached.
Yeah. One weird like nitpick I had was the cop, when he was getting pulled towards them, was like, I didn't leave a tip. You don't tip in Europe.
Yeah, he would know that.
Yeah.
Xander Cage tries to tip them and none of them taking any money, so it would make sense that he wouldn't know.
Yeah, I just felt I was like, no, you don't. I'm like, maybe in
Czechoslovakia
or the Czech Republic. I forget when they switched. Whenever. But like, I don't think so. Like, most of the European countries I visited IRL, they like if you give them a tip, it's like seen as like, oh, you're going above and beyond. Like, thank you.
Oh, like that.
Like you like
okay.
maybe you do like $1 in like our like over there, but if you give them like what we would give our waiters here, that'd be seen as like, holy shit, you must be rich or something, or my service must have been like the best service you've ever received. But yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why would he say that? But whatever. He probably
He's
wasn't
also not trying to sell the fact that he is not a cop. Also, why did he bring his badge?
Yeah, I guess
Why-
maybe
why
maybe they thought they were gonna bust him there. I don't know. That's the only reason I would.
They're outnumbered.
Yeah,
I mean, we do see later that this guy is an idiot. You know what I mean? They do use him for tomfoolery, stupid stuff. So, like, I get it. He probably would be the dumb undercover cop that brings his badge.
yeah,
You know what I mean? In a place that has no other help.
yeah.
Um,
Besides that, though, nice ass tavern, by the way.
It's all right. The next morning, Samuel L. Jackson calls up Xander Cage and learns all of the info he needed. Now he wants Xander Cage to go even further. And it's kind of funny that he was trying to answer the phone. He didn't realize it was this weird, like, side flip open cell phone. He's like, oh, I thought this was a cell phone.
Well, it was a Motorola, right? I wrote down Motorola.
Was it?
Yeah,
But it was 2002, and, like,
yeah.
obviously that technology, that wasn't real. But that could have been, like, a, you know, an altered device, and then they put graphics over it, you know. There's one piece of technology late in the movie that's hilariously repurposed from something that isn't what it is, and we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, it's kind of funny that it was like that. What I do love is that, so like, Samuel Jackson calls him in the morning, and Xander Cage tells him, I went to sleep an hour ago. And the easy assumption is that he spent all that night partying. But he gives him all the information on a computer he uploaded about everything, even like their favorite foods and all that he learned by talking to a guy. He had to type all that shit out.
Yeah.
So I like to imagine that he maybe he had a tape recorder with him, or maybe he's just super smart and remembered it all, which I wouldn't trust my own memory for something this important. I'd be too nervous, and then I would forget things because I'm focusing on it, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess he's just stone cold, you know, Vin Diesel about it, so he's just a genius, which is fine. But I just imagine, like, he had to type all that shit out. Damn it. The fuck? How old is this man? 26. Okay. And he's just had to type that. That's why he was up all night, because he was actually doing his job.
Yeah, like he tried to like call him out on his bullshit when his bullshit was actually, hey, I did my job like pretty well for my first time ever.
Yeah. Because it's not like there was a computer he could steal the information off of. No, the man had to, like, you know, write a report.
Johnny, 6'1", weighs 210 pounds, likes grilled
Loves
cheese
them
sandwich.
burgers.
Yeah,
Exactly. Xander Cage has a care package waiting for him with the Czech police. A dork they sent over gives him all sorts of weapons and gadgets and stuff. I don't like this character, but I do like the fact that, like, he's played off to be goofy and, like, yeah, I'm really cool, but you fumble and make mistakes. At the very least, though, all the shit he makes is actually, like, really good. It's not like, you know...
Yeah, at first I didn't like him as much, but then I kind of grew on him towards the end where I'm like, okay, he's supposed to be, like, the comic relief a little bit.
Like, to me, it was at the end where Vin Diesel's sitting in the car, standing next to the car, and it pans away, and there's all these weapons, and he just tells the guy, I want all of that in here. And he just says, okay, done. Because he can do it. I'm like, oh, okay, I actually appreciated that. Instead of, like, the obvious comedic relief of, like, what, it's not possible, or I'll try. You know, it's like, okay. At least he wasn't, like, a complete, like, throwaway person.
I don't remember. Did we mention Elena? Did he talk to her about the deal?
Yeah, she was really only there for the to get the bank account number from her, and then they quickly negotiate several $100,000s. But yeah, because we get to her a bit more in a second. Later, we're at the Russian leader's hideout, which is John Castle, where Xander Cage gets the cars. The hideout is not the castle yet. Where they are right now is not the castle.
Yeah, it's like a warehouse.
I'm thinking
or
ahead.
something.
I'm thinking ahead. Yeah, it's like a warehouse where Xander Cage gets the cars he bought, unveiling a super Vin Diesel-esque car. The leader and Xander Cage get in, but the stupid Czech cop fucks up his stealth and is spotted. Basically tries to give himself a little bit of window to see through and ends up knocking the whole panel down. And a quick fun fact. The car that is like Vin Diesel's car there was the first car that they bought for the film. And it sat out in sunlit lots for a long enough time that the color faded. It's supposed to be like bright blue when
Really?
they got it. Yeah, the color faded.
I had to
so
look
much.
it up because I was just curious what it was because I couldn't see that it was a Pontiac, but it is a Pontiac. It's a 1967 Pontiac GTO custom hardtop. I don't know what half that stuff means, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, I get it, and I guess it was bright blue when they bought it. IRL.
Damn, I hope they didn't lease that. Well, I guess they bought it, but hopefully they didn't have to return it or anything because I'd be pissed. I'd be like, I leased my car for like a Fast and Furious movie, and then like, oh, sorry, we left it out in the sun too long. I'd be like, it's worth probably changes now, thanks.
Yeah, there's nothing in the contract talked about sunwear. You know. In any case, that Czech cop fucks up his stealth and he gets spotted. Vin and Russian leader pull guns on each other, but then if it's not you, let's go get that dude. Vin shoots the Czech cop with a fake bullet and is inducted into Anarchy 99.
Sick. Do you think gangs in real life ever are like, congrats, you're in the Bloods? Do you think they actually say that? I feel like it's too cheesy. I'd be like, oh, welcome, like, to the gang.
Let
I
alone
guess.
be called Anarchy 99.
Yeah, it just sounds way too cheesy.
Now gangs in
Congrats.
real life are called like Proud Boys or stupid shit like that.
Congrats, you are now in Anarchy 99. I'd be like, okay, why is you like? Can you just say I'm in? Like, you don't have to. Sorry, but it's a little weird.
I get like anarchy makes sense because they're anti-government, but why the 99? Because of the 1999 date. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, never mind. Well, it's still a shitty name. And everyone knows who you are, like what your deal is if they just see the name. You know what I mean? Oh shit, they must be bad. You know, instead of like Sunlit Grove, that's her name. At a nightclub, because this is half the movie is this kind of shit.
This is my fucking shit right here. By the way, I just want to say, like, once again, I've always wanted to go to like a Eastern European like concert
Techno
or something,
rave.
but this right here is more my shit. Like, I love Rammstein to death, but I would love to go to like just a techno rave underground shit where it's just like everyone's weirdly slutty and hot and it's wet. It seems wet. I don't know, but it just seems so weird that I'm like, I'm attracted to it. I don't know what it is, but I'm like,
It's weirdly sterile with all the lights going on. It feels like
Yeah.
if they turn the lights off, it's like an office building or something, and you couldn't tell.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. It's super
While you're
wild.
gone.
And even though I'm not a party guy, I've always been like enthralled by that. I'm just like, I want to do that, dude. I just want to just go crazy there because I wouldn't know what's happening. But yeah, it was pretty wild.
So there, Russian leader tells Xander Cage all about Anarchy 99. Their ex-Russian military and IMO have the right idea. Like, hey, your military just fucks you over. You know, maybe you don't have to, like, kill everyone, like, just for no reason, but, like, you don't have to work for them and still have camaraderie. And Xander Cage also, like, probably IRL. Well, okay. Now, when I say IRL, I meant like cover aside, his actual person probably agrees with most of what they say too.
Yeah.
You know, like not the killing people, you know what I mean, part, but like Xander Cage also tries to talk to Yelena, the main woman in Anarchy 99, and she plays hard to get.
Classic.
Yep. They all return to base of operations, a giant castle. And you get the implication that they killed the people that owned it. He said, one day the family just moved out. Poof.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you killed them.
How do you don't you still have to pay? I guess whatever. I'm sure they figured out the paperwork. I'm like I guess the estate company or whoever owned, like, I guess if you own it, it doesn't really matter. But like if you have to pay like any sort of like payments on it, be like, I guess they don't really care where it's coming from.
It could be considered a historical property, you know, and then the taxes are different there.
Yeah, no
but
idea.
this is that this is happening in real life too. Phil Collins' ex-wife has hired a militia to take over his mansion. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, she and I guess her ex-boyfriend, someone that isn't Phil Collins, but she also dumped him. Together, they have militantly occupied Phil Collins' mansion.
That's actually fantastic.
That the story is still ongoing too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine if we just like we're like, hey, we're gonna form a group, and we're just gonna like go to DC, and we're just gonna find a really expensive house, and we're just gonna invade it and just live there, but never ever leave, and just see how long we can hold it.
What's hilarious too is that through this story, it was learned that Phil Collins dumped her via fax.
Bro.
But like they were married, so I guess it's like, hey, I'm getting it. I want a divorce, and he did it through a fax.
Jesus.
In any case, yeah, they'll return to the giant castle, and Xander Cage goes to bed, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. There's no one waiting for him in his bedroom.
If that was me, I'd have been like, "Are you sure this is the right room?" Like,
listen,
I have a wife.
I'm
and
tired.
Kids, you know,
like,
do
you actually want this? Like, I get it. They might hurt you if you refuse, but like, we can say we did it. Like, do you want this? Because I'd feel really uncomfortable being like, yeah, you know.
Also,
like,
she was like, yeah. Also, like, because when he first comes in, she's like humping the like.
Yeah, she's pole dancing the bed.
And I'm
pole.
just, I would have laughed on this. I'd be like, okay, what is going on in this place? I saw the women in the fountain. Like, okay, I get it. Like, we have maybe prostitutes here or whatnot. But what is going on? I'll be like, are you sure this is the right room?
I just like the idea that she probably waited there the whole night, with the remote in her hand to play the music as soon as the door opened, and she was just waiting there. And okay, yeah, here we go.
Xbox,
we're going now.
Play sensual music.
Yeah. The next morning, Xander Cage sneaks into the equipment cage to get intel. Which, side note, how does he know there's no cameras watching their shit?
Yeah, he did show him watch
cameras everywhere
on
the outside.
Yeah,
and you can even see in the cages all of the monitors. You know what I mean? Showing those feeds. Why wouldn't they have someone watching their shit? But I guess they're just Anarchy 99 doesn't have rules, so. He sneaks into the cage to get intel, and he sees Yelena taking photos of a hidden safe in the floor. He confronts her, and they both know that they're not the bad guys. That's all they kind of know. He takes her to lunch while Russian leader gets a phone call about Xander Cage.
Yes, he is bad spy from America.
Yeah. I would love to know how that person on the other phone knows this, though, because it's never said. It's just we know you're not who you say you are.
And I'd be like,
we know.
Are you sure? Because he's definitely that stunt driver that I saw on YouTube.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
like,
we know you are who you are, but we know that
your motives maybe.
So how are you here? Why are you here? Was that real? Did you do those stunts? Fucking Russian Chad dude's probably heartbroken if those weren't real.
It's Russiagate all over again.
Yeah.
He never did those stunts. Fake news.
Oh, yes, but now Iran apparently made all those Proud Boy videos. That's just something that apparently we're supposed to believe now.
I thought it was Russia. I've heard. Whatever. It doesn't fucking matter anymore. I don't.
At lunch, Xander Cage tells Yelena who he is, and she doesn't believe him until she gets a call from the sniper outside that says he's gonna kill Xander Cage.
I shoot him when he come outside. Okay, in front of many other people.
And this sniper guy is always smoking, and it is kind of ironic that earlier Xander Cage, when he sees him, tells him, "You know, it's gonna get you killed one day. This addiction you have." It's like, yeah, you're a fucking stunt maniac. You're gonna get yourself killed for something
that
just
is
as
true.
stupid.
If anything, that feels like a
pot calling the kettle black. Or can we say that now? Maybe we don't say that anymore.
I was gonna say, because we've talked about before how Vin sometimes will be Vin. I think in these characters, I think that was Vin being himself, where like he's trying to be holier than thou. So he's just
sage.
Because like why would he care when he does stunts that easily could kill him? It seems like every week for content.
I do think though, when you're making a character like Xander Cage, a person that is anti-rules, he's breaking rules, all this stuff, doing criminal activity, the kind of person that would go through this kind of situation. You do want to humanize him and show that he's not a bad person. He's wild, but he's not like, I will kill anyone, I don't care, I want to go home. He's not one of those kinds of people. So you throw in weird little, I feel like you just throw these little things in just to characterize him a bit more, to be like, okay, yes, he cares about people. Later on when he does get an M4 or whatever it is, and he goes to fire, and he didn't know that the safety was on, or didn't know how it worked. It's like, okay, yeah, that's a way to show that, yes, he is not like a trained killer. He knows how to use a handgun, sure, but you know what I mean. Like, it's one of those little things where it's like, yeah, I mean, you could do it better. It's like, my first thought was like, the fuck, dude, you literally just, like, you could die at any moment, and you have no reason to do any of these motorcycle stunts. Calm down.
Yeah. I know. Maybe they were trying to do, like, he was saying that more sarcastically and it wasn't executed well. Like, it's the only other way I can think of, like, it would make sense for his character to be like, hey, stop smoking and it'll kill you. Like, he's saying that more ironically.
Very aggressive, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Vin Diesel's career is basically just in the fledgling of this. I'll throw the quote out right now, or not quote, the fact out right now. This is officially the first Vin Diesel movie that isn't made by him where he is the lead character.
I was going to say, I feel like...
Because Fast and the Furious, it is Paul Walker is the main.
Yeah, I was going to say, out of all the movies we've seen, it really, like, this is the first one where it really does feel like, oh, shit, he's in, like, almost every scene. Everything revolves around him. Cool. He
is the main guy. Yeah. So Xander Cage and Yelena make a plan to get out, or at least they say that they're going to. Xander Cage is more of like, I have a plan and I'm doing it and you're along for the ride.
Yeah.
They pretend to fight, and he bolts with a silver dish tray. Using that silver dish tray, he city escapes down some rails.
That was so out of nowhere, even though this movie has been a little out of nowhere with some of the stunts in terms of like the over the top jumping. But I was like, are you serious? Like, cool. I loved it. I was like, whatever, man. That is so cheesy, and I love it. He's like, oh, I'm just going to, Sonic Adventure 2 down these rails. Whatever. Cool.
And then he is caught at the end. Some guys tie him up and hood him up. At an opera, Xander Cage is brought to Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson gives him a plane ticket and tells him to go home. But now Xander Cage can't. He's got half a movie left. And this was a very baller-ass scene. Like, who... Did Samuel L. Jackson's character, Gibbons, rent an opera for himself?
I thought the same thing.
Like, what was that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
where our tax money's going, Ethan. What the fuck? The military-industrial complex. Say that again. Renting out a whole opera and then having performers come in during, like, it seems like the midday, so not even like at night when you would have an opera. So these guys are coming in, doing a whole show for you just so you can look badass when Vin Diesel comes in.
There are many actors who are like, they are the greatest of all time for many reasons, right? And we all agree, everyone here agrees that Samuel L. Jackson is one of the ones we would say is the greatest of all time. He's a goat.
He's definitely a goat.
We all agree with that, right? And and with all these people, there's always a couple qualities that are just so prolific in who they are and how they act that it's like, maybe you can't put your finger on it, but there's a quality about them that you're like, no, this is why you're the greatest of all time, right? Samuel L. Jackson can say, shut the fuck up, motherfucker, in a way that is different than how other people say it and is prolifically to him. What I'm trying to get at is one of those qualities I think, realizing from this movie, is he's able to do movie villain shit as a good guy, and we see that as badass and good. This is a movie villain shit. A movie Russian villain would have an opera all to himself, and you would be brought in and executed in front of him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It would be something like that, but no, it's fucking Samuel L. Jackson, a good guy. Doing
some of this
this
stuff sometimes is like, did the writer even think of this, or did Samuel L. Jackson's like, look, you gotta like just think how cool this would be. I'm in an opera, right? And then Vin Diesel come in here, and I'm talking to him and getting him all riled up. How do you think about that? I'd be like, yeah, of course, Samuel L. Jackson. I will do that. That sounds great. Like, maybe they were supposed to meet at, like, a diner or something, and they're like, I just imagine Samuel L. Jackson be like, nah, we're meeting at the opera, bro. Like, that's dope.
Yeah, they're practicing for tonight, and no one's in there, so I'll just sit in.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little bit more disappointing if that's what happened, instead of, like, the idea of he rented it to himself. Xander Cage doesn't want to leave Yelena behind, so he sneaks back into the castle. setting up some explosives on bikes. I'm sure he's going to jump in some point in the future. He spots Russian leader and Yelena going to the basement. I wrote that he was going to jump those bikes and they were going to explode, assuming that was going to happen, and I'm disappointed that that didn't happen. But I left that in there for one reason only. Because eventually, one of these predictions I get in one of these movies is going to be correct. And I don't want y'all out there to think that I went back and just wrote my prediction in after seeing, all right?
Okay.
I predicted something and it was wrong, all right?
Okay.
Don't yell at me.
I also like that this is the first part where like they explain it later, so it makes more sense. But like when this happened, I'm just like, wait, wouldn't they like escort him to the airport like immediately? Like, why did they let him even go back? We find out later, obviously, that like no, it was all a play to like get you upset to go finish the job because you wouldn't have done it otherwise. And I thought like that was cool. That little like I guess twist at the end I did like, but in the moment I'm just like, wouldn't they have escorted him out? Also, him like weird. Rock climbing and shit. Like, damn, like this dude can.
He
rock
did
climb
that
too?
himself. He did that himself. That one scene specifically, and then also before the movie started filming, he didn't know how to ride a motorcycle.
Really?
And so he was taught by some of the best people in the world how to ride a motorcycle. It took him 3 months to learn how. So he's not quite on Tom Cruise's level of fastest person to officially be licensed from start to finish to learn how to fly a helicopter. He's not on Tom Cruise's level, but he's committed. That is a commitment. You know what I mean? To learn how to do something.
I would
like
never
that,
have guessed that, like based off what we saw him do.
So he does, if I haven't mentioned already, he spots the Russian leader and Yelena going to the basement, which is accessible from the outside, I guess, which is weird. But, it's a castle.
Secret
so
lair.
Whatever. Exactly. Following them, Xander Cage sees that they're building a Star Wars submarine and takes photos like it's the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 2, which you don't recognize as a reference, but other people will.
It's an
it
old
does look
game.
like a
no
Star
one cares
Wars.
about those games anymore, Ethan.
But you agree, it does. When you first see it, it looks like it's like a B-wing or some Star Wars spaceship.
It
right?
was a little.
I'm not
funky
crazy.
looking. Yeah.
It's 2002, man. Its payload is a bioweapon, and it's complete. Russian leader uses it to kill all the scientists that made it. Hope he doesn't need any more ammunition, because you know what I mean.
Also, like when they all go missing, like all their families would be like, "Huh."
I don't know if you're an evil Russian scientist making illegal stuff.
Yeah, I guess you don't care as much, but
a lot of those people look like they worked at like Sears or something. They didn't look like, I don't know.
That's their part-time job. They'll get fired from there.
Seeing all these people die radicalizes Xander Cage, because he gets that moment where he's just like, as he takes the binoculars
These
off.
bad guys kill people? What? I don't know why
Those binoculars, I forgot to mention, can see through clothing. Oh my god.
Why
whatever.
not? Didn't he say when he first got it, he was like, I'll need this for later.
Exactly. But when he actually needs to use it for the job, it just is an X-ray.
Yeah.
It's like clearly set up for just the one fucking punchline at the beginning of that reveal. He goes and hides, and then Batman's a couple goons by dropping from the ceiling onto them, and the alarm is set off.
Yeah, once again, I'm like, okay, like this is kind of random again. Like I wouldn't expect him to be in the ceiling, and like he's like, he's holding on for dear might, and then all of a sudden he just drops down.
And you could see the strain too.
Yeah, it
looked like, please fucking go, please, I can't hold this like any second longer. Go, like he did that very well. The alarm is set off, but he disables the alarm. We haven't mentioned it, but one of the gadgets he has gotten is a revolver, a weird like. It looks like it's super light, like it's a fake prop, but it also could be extremely heavy. But he's holding it in a way as if it's neither. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like it's this weird revolver. But what's cool about it is that it has all these different ammo types, and I feel like the video games have been mentioned so many times in this movie, especially the idea of giving Xander Cage a video game when he's at the party at his house.
Yeah,
that like the idea of, I mean. There's a few Metal Gear or even just stealth game type stuff that they do in here. Like I said, taking pictures of the ultimate destroying weapon that the bad guys are making is something that Metal Gear Solid 2 does at the beginning, where you have to just take photos of proof. Not disable or destroy, you're just there to do that and leave. You know, the idea of a gun that has, like a revolver that has different ammo types to do different functions is so video gamey that it's like, damn, why didn't they make one? Because one of the ammo types here is that just to destroy electronic equipment, you know? And earlier it's a fake blood thing that he uses to kill the cop.
It's a very, like you said, it does look proppy at times. And like I said, it does stand out a little bit, maybe too much. But at the same time, this movie is so wacky. It's like we were talking about Tony Hawk earlier. It's like Tony Hawk meets James Bond meets Vin Diesel meets a little bit of video games or just weird, wacky, like, weaponry. Like you said, even the bomb itself looks like from a sci-fi movie, and then you have this gun that just looks just so different from anything I've ever seen in a gun, like a regular gun you might have seen in 2002 or in even modern day. So it was just, it's just a very weird. It is a very weird like prop, but it does have kind of video game vibes. But I just kept looking at it and like it kind of sticks out a little bit too much. Where I'm like, is this a James Bond film or a Star Wars film? Because I'm kind of confused.
Right. What I did think was clever was the fact that the bottoms of the shells for all of the different ammo types are color coded, so that as you're reloading the revolver, you would know for a fact this is a real bullet or this isn't, or this is, you know, as you're putting it in there. That's a fun way to play Russian roulette. You have a bunch of the fake blood capsule bullets and one real one, so you do get shot, but you don't know if it was fatal until seconds
and
later.
One's trank, so like you get shot and you're like, okay, we can maybe play the game in a couple hours.
As he runs, he shoots people and takes off on a bike, and he makes sure to take the explosive off his bike and put on a car.
I appreciate too that he got caught. Like when he first jumped down, that like I thought they were going to show the alarm, and like the dude's just about to touch it, and he's able to like stealthily
get out of
yeah. So I'm glad that they actually like no, he wasn't quick enough, and
because he's not a Superman. He's not, you know, he's not Tom Cruise. He's not Solid Snake. He's followed on another bike, and people chase him, but he blows them up, including some bunch of random people that were just trying to get into cars to chase him.
Also, when he blows up all those things, I'm like, he's trying to save Elena, and like
he doesn't know if she could have gotten in that car. He put the thing on.
She could have gotten on the
second.
bike too, because she has to pretend that she's chasing him too. And I'm like, that is risky, but I guess whatever. Action hero movie, cool.
And he won't know at this point in time. He might never see her for a while, or again. Period. You know what I mean? Like he has no idea in all that time that she could be dead, but we do find out that she's not dead because he escapes to his hideout to find the Czech cop who has turned and is now bad. Not that a cop isn't bad to begin with. Elena is there too, and she kills the Czech cop. And this is where we reveal that she is, you know, a Russian spy, a Russian spy.
KGB.
Yeah. I'm thinking about Mission Impossible now, where the bad undercover person was a French spy.
Les François.
She is a Russian spy, and that they left her out to dry for.
Which kind of
like it's one of those things where it's like, you know, just how our villains were used by their government's military force and thrown away, so was she. So it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, everyone is on the same page here besides Samuel Jackson. I'm like, yes, what's right? It's just different ways of going about it. You know, like maybe we don't kill everyone. We can just, you know, leave. You know,
her arc is at this point,
which is another Metal Gear Solid thing.
And her arc with that is like his was like, oh, you're gonna go to jail. Hers was just like, I was trying to do something for my country. Like there's the patriotism thing coming back again. And this time it made a little bit more sense with her. Or like she wasn't like I was a criminal and I was patriotic. She's like, no, I'm just patriotic, and then they left me out to dry, so fuck them and fuck everybody basically. And she's, you know, been undercover for 2 years, which is insane.
Yeah.
At that point, are you even undercover anymore?
And like, and she said like what like politicians swapped, you know, in and out, and like it was almost as if like her dossier about the mission was just lost in the shuffle, and she was just never contacted again. Like the disinterest.
I wonder if that's ever happened. It has to, right? Human history's
We will
long
never
enough.
know about it. We'll find out one day when we finally raid the CIA
like when,
and find out. Yes, you did kill Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you. Finally admitting it.
It's like when that one Japanese soldier was like found in 1960 something, like in a bunker somewhere, and he thought World War II was still going on.
Really?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was on one of the like smaller islands outside Japan. They found a dude in a bunker who's been like camping out there for like
Was
20
this like
years.
this year? Recent?
Not recent.
Or
Like, it was like in the
80s?
60s or whatever after World War II.
Or yeah, okay, yeah, 60s.
And
damn,
and the guy had no idea. He thought the war was still going on, and like Japan was so like patriotic. A lot of their soldiers were patriotic that it took 2 bombs to tell them to surrender. They were willing to fight until we evaded them. You know what I mean? I just found that like remarkable that guy was like for 20 years. He's like, man, this is a long war, but I guess this is a world war. It's never ending. But at some point, I would be like, maybe I should just go outside. There can't be anyone here. I don't know.
Did you ever see The Wolverine, where that happens? But if you go outside, you would have gotten fried by the nuke that happened where you were. That's why he stays in there forever. Yeah, it's also it's crazy too, because if we bombed different cities, depending on where we bombed, they would have fought us to the death anyway. It was like initially we wanted to bomb Tokyo and Kyoto. It was like, no, all of their culture is in Kyoto. They would have no culture left. You know what I mean? Like they would be like as if they never existed for the most part. Like
we still
bomb.
kind of.
Well, we're gonna nuke somewhere else instead. Like we should obviously have not done that.
I mean,
I think that's obvious.
We need to go to a whole World War II what ifs in a different show, but yeah.
Oh, there's plenty of Call of Duty games that we can talk about.
Trust me, it was the Russians who killed all those people, not the Americans.
Yes. Oh my God. I can't believe that we just rolled over that and moved away. So that's the Call of Duty cycle of anybody that actually cares about any of that kind of shit doesn't pay attention to Call of Duty anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So Yelena kills that Czech cop. Pig. We get an update from Samuel L. Jackson, who informs us that the mission is over, but it ain't over for Xander Cage. Yelena will be stuck here, and the bioweapon is still in enemy hands. She was a Russian spy that had been left to dry, and Xander Cage needs to finish the job. Setting up a plan with the Czech police, Xander Cage gets his car filled with weapons and jumps out of a plane to take out a communications tower. Which he explains that in the briefing to the Czech police as if such an obvious thing of like, hey, they can't talk to anyone if we take out their giant communications tower that we know is theirs. They say he says that to them as if they'd never occurred to them to like, hey, what if we just took it out? What if we just blew it up? It's in a mountain. No one lives there. Blow it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have planes. They use them at the end. So, but whatever. Because he's Dominic Toretto, the smartest person in the room, apparently. And of course, he needs to snowboard to do it too. So he's snowboarding down, and he causes an avalanche, which, according to director Rob Cohen, utilized 20,000 individual sound effects for all of the avalanche stuff.
Can't imagine that. I don't know what program they were using, but I can't imagine that. I just see like a bunch of audio tracks too. Like, okay,
See,
what if we
but
move
here's
this
the
one
thing.
little one? You wouldn't even notice. That's wild.
My assumption isn't that they're 20,000 uniques.
20,000.
I'm sure they're just 20,000 instance of 20000. I'm sure there are that many instances of just a sound effect, period. Like, they obviously, there's not 20,000 unique ones. What is there, a cow in there? A pig?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How many rumbles can you make? Not 20,000. At least for a movie like this.
I thought you were
So,
about to
I'm
say
sure
that
it's
they
a lot of,
actually
like-
started the avalanche. I'm like, are you sure? Because that definitely looked like CG. That would have been even worse if they're like, yeah, and we like caused a natural disaster and
It
risked.
didn't even look real.
Yeah, it didn't even look real. And Vin did his own stunt again. He said, I want to snowboard in front of this avalanche.
So, causing that avalanche, Xander Cage heads to the tower and takes out the whole thing, but is captured and brought back to the castle. And so, earlier I mentioned far-right gang, the Proud Boys, the pathetic group of people, just awful, kind of embarrassing. You're not even cool at what you're trying to do. You're embarrassing, right? And I bring this up because there's a few of the main dudes in almost like a video gamey kind of fashion of like getting all the lower main henchmen out one by one and their bosses until you get to the main boss, right? We do one of those earlier when the first escape of the castle, and we're doing one of them now because so do you remember when we obviously remember when Charlottesville happened, right? The stupid, disgusting unite the right bullshit kind of stuff happened, and you got all of these idiots and grifters and whatever showing up. There's a lot of photos. One of the photos that is one that makes the rounds a lot more is fat dude in makeshift Kekistan armor. He's got the stupid Pepe frog, and he's got this big windshield with the K, and it's like kind of in a swastika, but also kind of in like a Roman Knights kind of thing. Yeah, awful, disgusting bearded man. Literally looks like this person when he has a wooden shield and a sword. When he's goofing off in there before it gets blown up. That was my thought of like, damn, they really were just killing the Nazis way back then too, Russian or not.
I was one last thing I wanted to say about the whole snowboarding thing too in general was I forgot to say was that like there was moments where I was like, damn, I would not, like the way they shooting the angles and stuff, like looking how steep, I'm just like, there's no way, dude, like how do people snowboard down this shit? That's too steep. And like there's moments where he's like literally like I'm assuming it's not Vin in this. I'm like, you can do all the snowboarding, or you can probably be a good snowboarder, but some of that stuff looked like professional snowboarders. I'm like, because that one dude was like sliding on the side and it was going down like 90 meters or whatever. And I'm just like, damn, I don't know. Snowboarding is scary to me, like especially when it's that steep.
All it takes is one weird angle that you do in without thinking to kill you.
Yeah,
that's how I always view. I've never snowboarded, but like that's how I always viewed it.
Especially that mountain is huge, and you dropped from a helicopter, by the way. Like, how did your board not break? And all that. I
will say, looking at that when he jumps out of the helicopter, he does some spins and some flips or whatever because he's Xander Cage and he's obviously having fun doing that. Then he pulls the chute, then he lands and does his stuff. I'm trying to think because obviously they've done that before in the past for just actual professional snowboarders to jump out of a helicopter. Yeah. That's not uncommon, right? And they would do tricks and all that. How thinking in real life, having to parachute in between that is like such like all right, well now I can't really control how I look, so now I look kind of stupid, and now we're back to radical action, And
he did,
I don't know.
Well, Vin, whoever it was, when they first started jumping out, they were kind of like spitting for a second. It did look like I am in like...
While the camera struggles to keep them in frame.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you're in like... At least it looks like they were like 10% in control of what was happening, and then the rest of it was like... wind and falling and gravity, all at the same time. So I was once again
like that board stunts, is giving you a lot of odd wind resistance.
Yeah, and that too. Yeah, wind resistance. But yeah, once again, I think it was cool. Yeah. A lot of different types of stunts in this. It's definitely like not even Tony Hawk. I keep going back to Tony Hawk, but like what's that one event where they do the snowboarding? What's that called?
X Games.
The X Games. Like you have a mix of X Games, motocross, and skateboarding all in this movie. It is wild.
Do we ever learn why has XXX tatted on his back of his neck?
Because he's Xander Cage, dude.
Is it because he likes X game types of shit and he's
he wanted to get XXX tattoo on his back, but they fucked up.
Yeah, no, no, he did later after the movie, and then that's why they had to call it Tricky. Because they was like, oh fuck, I guess we have to add another word on for when the game comes out. Yeah, and it's weird how like it's the cause of the avalanche. It looks like he also got in too, and then he sticks his arm out, climbs out, and then just like snowplows just show up, and it's like, is this the Czech army? Yeah. No, it's the bad guys. Oh damn. Oh well, okay. Just kill him right then and there. But sure, I guess we capture him, bring him back to the castle.
For evil man to say evil speech.
Yeah. Russian leader says he knew Yelena was the Russian spy the whole time and that he used her. But she was with him for 2 years, and we have zero proof that she contributed to anything at all. So maybe you didn't know and you were just lying because you just wanted to seem smart. I said the same thing
when it was happening. I'm just like,
what was she there for?
Or you found out yesterday, and now you're trying to play it off because mind games and, I'm so smart. I knew since 2 years ago when you arrived at my doorstep that you were a spy.
Because what was her role?
She did like all the money, like
the money
wiring.
stuff, I guess.
So if you didn't trust her, why would you trust her with your entire wealth?
It's dumb.
That's ball.
Yeah,
if that is
he
true,
totally
you're
didn't
ballsy.
know. I'm glad you also picked up on that too. That man didn't know shit. He was just making it up.
I just talk in Russian, so it acts like I know.
Exactly. Americans think I am big bad smart guy if I talk like this. As Russian leader monologues, the wall is blown open by the Czech police and they raid them. Bad guy takes a giant hard drive and bolt, and Xander Cage follows with a big old gun, but doesn't take the safety off, like I mentioned earlier. He goes to fire, nothing happens, and I thought the joke was going to be like, there's no bullets in here, because it's making the click, but I guess the safety does that too. I've never fired a gun,
I
obviously.
think it just there's no like ignition or whatever you want to call it. I've only shot like 2 guns in my life, so I wouldn't know. I just imagine like you can't. It just stops you from pulling the trigger. I think is what the safety does. Like you just can't do anything.
But I guess what would be safer, preventing the ignition or preventing you from just pulling the trigger? I think it'd be safer to be like, no, the gun can't actually do the thing at all, let alone, nope, we just prevent you from pulling the trigger. I don't know shit about guns, but they don't deserve to exist. Bad guys take that hard drive. Xander Cage follows, and the leader puts the drive in the sub. And Xander Cage uses a Metal Gear Solid 1 looking rocket launcher to snipe or to kill the sniper. That was because he's like, I told you that thing would kill you one
lets
day.
him like stand out in the open for like a solid 3 seconds. I'm like, if you're that good, you would have already killed him. Quick scope him. Have you played COD? Come on.
Now, and he's sniping with a pistol, so like obviously we know he's really good then if that's what he can do. So did you get a good look at that rocket launcher, that heat-seeking missile?
It looks like every rocket launcher I've seen in like every COD game where like that's like an alternate weapon I could have on my back if I choose to have it.
What if I told you that was a video camera with shit added onto it and painted green?
Really? That was pretty good.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
That's a video camera.
penny pinching,
now, if you think
that's
about
great.
it, the like like the viewfinder or whatever is the same as like the video camera type stuff. It's just
shout
just
out to the prop
camera.
team. Like whoever did that, you deserve all the money in the world. Holy crap. That's fantastic.
It did look small, but I guess I've never seen one in real life.
Vin's also big, so I'm just like, yeah, sure.
Fair enough.
They sold it. They did their job.
Also, why did they bring it and leave it on the ground? Whatever.
I guess in close combat, you're not going to run around with the rocket launcher unless you're planning to just blow yourself up too.
Or rocket jump, I'm at full max health. I can take one. I can get up to the top there. Russian leader is getting away on a boat while the sub begins to head towards its destination. Xander Cage, after like 20 clips, is finally able to shoot the Russian leader, and now they just gotta catch a sub. I like too that like instead of leaving the doorway to lie down, he lays down under the doorway. There is clearance on the other end if he took one more step, but instead we gotta have a very slow Indiana Jones of like, now he's being crushed, so we put an explosive barrel looking thing under there.
I also appreciate that
it.
he was saved too in a way. Like Yelena came in to save the day because I think that's important.
No, she doesn't come in to save the day. She pushes the thing under there to catch the door, but then tells other people to pull him out.
Still,
So,
I appreciate that. Like,
yeah, he's
not
not
saying
like this untouchable.
that she's the perfect woman action hero sidekick or whatever you want to call it, but like for a 2002 movie, I'll take any little win for women empowerment in films. And I guess he could maybe I'm not saying that's huge, but just like, I appreciate that. Like, she saved him for once instead of making him save her. They did it. I think, if anything, in this movie they did a pretty good job of like she kind of takes care of herself for the most part. I think, and they make her seem smart enough.
We're told that
like,
she's been taking care of herself for 2 years in enemy territory. So,
yeah,
I guess. In any case, they've killed Russian leader, or rather, I guess he kills himself because he drives the boat into the stone.
And that
wall.
explosion was so big that I'm just like. Come on! I think it would have just hit the
wall.
wall.
How much gas was in the tank?
It would have just hit the wall, and his body would have just sat there. Instead, they're like, no, he hits the wall so hard that it just explodes. And I'm like,
yeah, it ruptures the gas tank, and it just blows everything up. but we still got to catch that sub.
There's also a James Bond thing too. Like I feel like, maybe,
the boat goes away and then it blows up. The bad guy gets away, but he blows up.
Yeah, and like they never. And even those types of movies too, like maybe the only time maybe you see that like the bad guy dies, maybe gets shot or something. But like other than that, it's either that or just explodes into flames and his body's just gone. Like just there's no skeletal remains.
We've been watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. Still, that episode will still come for season 2. The sequel series, which I don't know if you'll ever watch. That actually happens to someone. A villain does get away on a boat, and it gets blown up. That's hilarious that we mentioned it. But so they got to catch that sub. They get the souped-up car from earlier when he's making the plan with the Czech police, and they begin to chase the sub. We get some weapons that they can't use, and some radical new technology called a global positioning system, GPS that's very bare bones, like, but it looks so advanced, and they say it's as if it's advanced. That it's like, no, that's like a basic GPS kind of thing of like, yes, it's telling us where this road goes. Like, how crazy is that? But they do get to blow up a village, though, so that's cool for them. They get to use the weapons to blow up. They have no idea who was around. They show people there earlier, and then they don't.
What's funny, one thing I noticed, too, after they blow it up, they show that, like, going through and continue driving. There's people, like, walking on the side, like, towards it, like, as if nothing ever happened. So it was, like, one, like, little nitpick where I would have been like, they should have been reacting, been like, holy shit, there's a loud explosion, a car just flew by.
Instead, the dude's like, if those were two different
I'm just
scenes
going to
that
the
they
market,
composited
dude.
Together.
I'm just going to the market. Whatever. I see this shit all the time. It's Eastern Europe, whatever.
Yeah. Those crazy people from Prague. So Samuel L. Jackson has some planes getting ready to blow the sub out of the water, which would kill everyone around, but it would save, he says that we saved 10 cities by blowing up one, which is unpatriotic, but hey, it's not his country.
Yeah, I'm sure if it was, especially after...
And to be fair, he's sacrificing himself too.
And also this movie, I'm assuming, takes place in modern day, so 2002.
Post 9/11.
After, like, if that was the case, like, if it was in New York City, that's bullshit. You would know that. That's not what you would do, especially after like something like 9/11. But yeah, he's basically saying we'll have 10 9/11s in Prague, but we'll save every other city. It's like, you sure there's nothing else you can do? Come on now.
That's why he's just gotta trust Xander Cage. Well, I might as well just bring it up now. Another fact about those planes: those are actual Czech Republic fighter jets.
They look dope. I really like the design.
Officially by them. They wanted to rent or lease or whatever you would say, borrow 2 of them, and the Czech Republic gave them an entire fleet.
What? Wait, who flew them?
With I imagine them, because with the condition that they make a donation of $50,000 to a hospital that they use.
Okay, that's nice.
And they buy beer for all the pilots that they also got.
That's awesome.
So those were Czech Air Force people flying those planes, and apparently they got beer out of it.
Sick.
So, yeah,
that's awesome.
That was a fun fact. Like, yeah, you're gonna obviously make a $50,000 donation to this hospital, which is very important for our community, and like that's, I guess, one of the cool things a military could do. Something like that is, hey, use our technology and then, make a donation. But then also buy our boys some beer.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you pay them? You could pay them too, but no, buy them beer. It's cool. Give them a sandwich.
The fun facts this episode are pretty good. Like, these are a lot of, like, real good fun facts.
Yep.
That's awesome. Good for them.
Yep.
Shout out to you, Czech Republic.
I only got 2 left. Sorry. But there isn't a whole lot, but they were big. So, the planes are going to blow up the sub, but Xander Cage can't let that happen. While they're fumbling around, and they're trying to figure out what their plan is, we briefly learn that Vin Diesel double foots the gas and brake as Elena takes the wheel. Did you notice that too?
Oh, I
when they're like, no, the brake, no, the gas, and he has both feet there. Like, I get it. I'm personally very hand-eye coordinated. I'm very good at video games. That's where the hand-eye coordination comes from, and other things. I'm good at that. and I could probably do that, maybe. But like every time I've like humored the idea, it's such like a clusterfuck of like I don't know. I'm not even gonna bother trying because I might crash. So are you the same way? I don't know.
I mean, I would say more.
Have you ever tried?
Coordinated with like sports? Like I feel like I can catch things well for the most part. But like that in video games, not so much. I think there's different types of eye-hand coordination for sure. I can't like. Because you can argue eye-hand coordination is also in a gun, in a way, and all that stuff. Like, I couldn't shoot a rifle accurately, for example. But anyways, yeah, I don't think I could do that. I think I've tried it when I first started driving, because you're like, oh, what if? What if I can just be that one weird person?
Because they always tell you when you're learning to not do that.
Yeah, but you're like, what if I'm that one cool guy who, yeah, I drive with both feet,
I drive stick and I double foot. I almost said double fist. double foot it.
I drive stick and double foot it.
I'm always double fisting, which would be drinking and driving, but or a sex act depending on what turn of phrase you use it for.
I don't judge.
It's painful. Yeah. So Yelena takes the wheel and they pop the hood off. Xander Cage has a harpoon gun and he wants to use it to snag the top of the sub so he can get over and destroy that hard drive. He snags it and parachutes over, and it was kind of cool. He was like, hey, this is actually like a manageable trick I could do at home kind of a thing. Like the boys could do this and we could film it. It's like, I wish I had my video cameras,
Yeah. You like that confidence again. You love to see it.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, this is the one where, like, again, at the beginning of the movie where he's thrown out of a plane, he's like, I want to do it again. Let's do it again. I'm covered in bruises because we rolled probably a fifth of a mile on the ground. He's on the sub now, and the missiles are starting to get ready. They look pretty much like the missiles I used to make for my Bionicles back in the day, too.
They look like the ones in, like, you'd make an 8th grade science class for Rocket Day or whatever it was, except that you put, like, Mountain Dew in it instead of actual
biochemicals,
gunpowder or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they looked like, colors aside, like the missiles I would make for my Bionicles when they had missile launchers or whatever. The missiles are ready to launch at any moment, and Xander Cage flips one around and yanks out the hard drive, putting it in the water, and it blows up. So there's a lot of steps that he does here, and I get that he is not supposed to know exactly what to do, and he's trying to learn. Like, initially, he pulls the hatch open to look, and there's just so many switches, and one of them could just blow up, and he's not sure what the thing is. And yeah, I guess there was a handle on the hard drive, you could just yank it out, but, like, it's starting, you know what I mean? I thought the hard drive was also more of just, like, here's your destination, here's your instructions.
If you had a gun, if I had a gun in that situation, I probably would
just shoot the hard drive.
The drive, because there's no way, like, that makes it go off, like, right? Like, there would be no system in place.
I mean, he essentially does the same thing when he yanks it out.
It's not a bomb. It's a thing that shoots missiles. You know what I mean? So it'd be different if it was the whole thing was like a nuke or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like the front half jetsons forward or something. Yeah. But it's funny, though, is that 3 pop up to get ready, but it's only ever arming the middle one. And then like he's like, well, if I put this in the water, it might shoot out in the air, so I'll just flip it around, and it fits perfectly, of course, back in the the tripod holder or whatever it is, a little like ring kind of holder, fit back around perfectly because, of course, it's made out of giant Lego pieces.
Also,
I guess
they
he's
say
just
like
selfless.
randomly, they're like, oh, it doesn't act in water, like it won't. It'll just...
Yeah, they made a point to say that, and I think for this reason. But like,
wouldn't he just throw it out in the water then? Or is the missile like, GPS seeking, where like if you throw in the water, it'll still shoot out? I don't know. I was just kind of like, can you just grab every single one and just chuck it in the water instead of, or is he like, no, we got to blow it up because action movie? I don't know.
So why is it able to decompose in water and then be safe again? Number one, the reason why is so that they can have the scene. That's why they say that earlier. But then if you're the bad guy and you're making your bioweapon in a submarine that's underwater until it gets to where it needs to go, if one of your engineers there messes up on like the pressure and torque of certain bolts or whatever, little thing pops open, water gets in, your entire plan is fucked.
I
You know what I
guess
mean?
if this, like I said, if this movie was remade, obviously there'd be some stuff I think they could keep and just, match more with the time. I think like if they remade this, like that'd have to be a drone. I think that'd make more sense. But like, are you gonna put Xander Cage in the sky? I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, maybe we will for XXX4.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird. And while we're on the subject of the sub, I want to mention the fact that these Russian people name the sub Ahab, which I presume to be after Ahab, the captain from Moby Dick.
Yep.
And they call the chemical agent Silent Night. These are both English, and they're Russian. Why wouldn't they name it after something in their own culture? I'm not saying like you can't do it.
We
but
named
like,
it Stalin too.
You know what I mean?
Always remember what we could have had before it became a military dictatorship.
It was like weird to me. That's like, this is clearly written by Americans. You know what I mean? Obviously, Russians are the bad guys, so that's why it's Americans that wrote it. But like, it's just weird to me that like you wrote it Ahab out, in Latin letters or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't write it in Russian or anything. Like, I hate the Russian government. That's what I was trying to say. I forgot what we call it. It was just like, come on, guys, this is very cheesy.
They might have have written Enola Gay on there or something, or Little Boy, just reference the nuke at that point. Like, if they're just going to do like weapon of mass destruction, just be like, haha, American.
Exactly.
So
we blow the sub out underwater. It's actually kind of a cool effect that they did.
Honestly, no, you could have written Anarchy 99. That would have made, I guess, even like a little bit more sense. Like, where does the Ahab come from? Like,
are you expecting people to see the sub? I thought that's the whole point, is that they don't see it. You wrote Ahab on, and then you killed the people that made it.
Maybe that was a rival gang, and they're like, "Oh, Ahab did it."
Yeah. We over here, we're trying to do the same thing, but we're naming our sub Ishmael, the other guy in that book, and also in Metal Gear Solid 5. What? It's the first line Kiefer Sutherland says in that game. In the aftermath, Samuel L. Jackson finds Yelena. I guess they meet for the first time, and he tells her that she can come to America.
Awesome.
And then, so I don't want to nitpick. It's fun to nitpick, but with also the understanding that it doesn't matter, and it's not like destroying artistic integrity. So I just want that to be out there, because I feel like we nitpick a lot and don't preface it with like, hey, we're not trying to be like smart little assholes. It's just things we think of.
Like I said, all the nitpicks I've had have been more just like, oh, I think I would have changed this.
And I mean this mostly in terms of just how we approach movies in general. Like, we don't think we could do a better job. We're not, you know what I mean? We're not these kinds of stupid YouTube critics, you know what I mean? But if I were to be that for a second, the bridge they're on is very wide. This is a pedestrian bridge. I think maybe even gets car traffic on it. It's wide. It's made of stone. There is no slats to see through. And they're on, we'll call it the north side. They're on one side, looking at the wreckage, and they presume that Xander Cage is dead. Yelena, who is standing at the edge, turns around as we, the audience, see Xander Cage get out of the water and, like, really, like, have PTSD right there in the moment. As if she sees him, but she needs to move 5 yards or whatever it is to actually have a line of sight of him. So weird. my little pathetic nitpick is she would not be able to see him. So
he should have like climbed over, like all of a sudden he's like climbing up over the bridge. Yeah, how did you get there? I don't know.
He flops over. You know what I mean? Like, this was my last action, was just to get to the slightly more safety. Yeah. But you know what? It's true love, I guess. Maybe she's probably not in the sequels. He's not even in the second.
I'm sure,
movie, but
maybe she goes to America and he has more missions to do, because who's to say how many missions we need you to do, because we actually just won't stop until you die.
Yeah. And the film very quickly just cuts over to the end, where Xander Cage and Yelena are on a beach. That's chilling.
Actually Vin Diesel's house now. Just kidding.
Probably. I like to think it's also one of the many beaches that they use in the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Oh.
I also find it funny that in like all these kind of action star movies, it's always a beach too, and not like
that's their ultimate their dream. You know
Yeah,
what
it's
I
like,
mean?
okay, maybe actually I like Alaska. I don't know. Like, I actually like
And
it
I
cooler.
think, you know,
I don't
what,
know.
this is my little headcanon for it. I think action movies like to do it that's the ultimate relaxing reward is
Yeah, it's a beach.
South American equator type of beach, because the type of people that would watch a movie like this, and I don't know, I'm not judging anyone, but you know what I mean, but like general kind of audience is probably people that don't get to take too many vacations.
Yeah.
And that idea would be like, if I could live there forever, that would be the dream. You know, like that's the dream. He gets the dream. We show it, you know.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. I
And
just
the
find it
dream
funny.
ends because that's the movie. And we get some pretty decent kind of closing credits, kind of graphics, motion graphics.
Definitely
like, they're all right.
2002, but like
Yeah, it's not. It's better than the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, I thought they were cool, just like for the time. I've learned to appreciate a lot of early 2000s like graphics,
Aesthetics.
aesthetics. Yeah, there's a lot of early 2000 like hairstyles.
Did you see that? Did you see that? There is an internet museum now for every known Winamp visual studio, like GUI,
No,
like interactive thing, and they're all like 2000 year of 2000 as fuck, and they're all like, I want this aesthetic back. They look terrible, but like
that's what I'm
just
saying.
let
It's
me
so
do this
bad, but
again.
it's good. It's like, and like I said, like
It's-
in this movie, there's the fashion's pretty bad. Like for 2000, like I'm saying,
Zoomers
bad
blame
now.
us for this.
Yeah, but just like everything about this is not everything, but like most of the stuff in this movie is heavily dated, but in a very good way. Like it doesn't. I don't think it hurts it. It just is like, damn, what a time. And I'm sad that we were only like 6,
7,
7, whatever.
I'm older than you by 12 days, motherfucker. Before we talk about our thoughts about the movie as a whole, I just got 2 tiny little facts for you. So, everyone knows that Vin Diesel is the main character of this movie. He is a known person. Yes, I understand more so after this movie and then in retrospect, but like he's not like a nobody, and he's like good, you know what I mean? Fast and the Furious already had proved that, you know. The Russian leader, is not that type of actor. He's on a lower scale, so he's someone that maybe he's not recognizable, right? Now, what if I told you that there was a chance, an offer was sent to an actor to have that role that would be very more recognizable? And I'm going to give you a guess. Let you guess. Here.
Matthew McConaughey.
No, I was going to give you a little bit of a hint.
Okay.
What movie trilogy was happening during this time?
Ooh.
Maybe the second one had come out by then, where this actor wasn't the main character, male, but was the supporting them, the second guy. And I'm gonna give you have 3 guesses.
3. I mean, before you finish, I was gonna say Keanu Reeves, but that doesn't make any sense since he's the main character of The Matrix.
I'll give you 3 guesses.
Oh man,
starting
I'm gonna
now.
be so bad because my actor
trilogy
knowledge is already limited. I'm really bad.
You
at
love
actors'
this
names.
man.
What?
You love this man.
I love this man, Jared Leto.
Nope, that's one guess. Nope.
Which big trilogy was out in the early 2000s?
The biggest fucking trilogy on the planet.
Star Wars. Oh shit. Ewan McGregor.
Yep.
Yeah.
An offer was sent to him to be the villain.
trilogy or biggest trilogy ever. Definitely.
Now you could argue that we could have also assumed that was Lord of the Rings, but
That was my
it
second
was Star
guess, but
Wars.
I'm like, there really is no like secondary character in Lord of the Rings. It's like Frodo and then like the gang. So
Well, I mean, you could maybe think Orlando Bloom.
that was gonna be
but,
another.
like,
I was gonna that, or I was gonna say Gandalf there.
Ian McKellen.
Yeah,
Although honestly,
I can't see him doing a Russian accent.
Fucking
though.
what's his name? He's got a weird name. Viggo Mortensen, that played Jesus, I can remember that name, but not the character's name. That played Strider, fucking
Aragorn.
Aragorn, yeah. He could probably also do it too, but
I found out that
they
he
sent
was
an offer.
He was a big play actor. Like he never.
Oh yeah, he
never wanted to do
he
movies.
hated Hollywood, and that's why that's again, Lord of the Rings sidebar here. Every single perfect opportunity happened for these movies. They happened.
They're perfect. We live in this universe where this exists, and we should be thankful every day. Every day you wake up, you should be like, "We got Lord of the Rings, and it was good."
Like, yeah, you could say that the stories aren't entirely clever. There's a lot of like, oh, this person died, but not really, or oh, they're about to die, and no, they don't because something saves them. There's
Eagle
a lot
could have dropped ring off.
There's a lot of things like that, but like setting that kind of shit aside, those are perfect movies. You know what I mean? Perfect movie adaptations on something, because everything that could possibly go right did to 11 out of 10. You know what I mean?
We really should do a Lord of the Rings episode, just like where we just love Lord of the Rings.
I watched the first 2 extended editions, and I never actually watched the third one again. What I'm saying recently,
5 hours or whatever.
Yeah, it's 3.5.
Might as well be 5.
Without credits. I remember when I told you that the first movie's credits were 27 minutes long.
I believe it.
But yeah, it could. An offer was extended to Ewan McGregor. He probably obviously turned it down, but like,
he's like, no, I'm British. I don't do this.
And
shit.
someone else was offered for Vin Diesel's character, Xander Cage, but he chose another movie instead to do. And his name was like someone I didn't recognize, so I didn't bother writing it down. And then other tiny little fast fact. So you and I, we like movies. We like, hearing about the production about movies. But oftentimes a lot of the jargon, technical or verbal otherwise, are things that we just aren't acquainted with, or like the processes might not be something that we fully understand or are able to know if something is not within the normal range of things. So do you know how long a typical action movie takes to film? How many days?
90 days, depending if everything's on set. Like if you're shooting on location.
This movie was 82. Okay. It's in that range then, you know what I mean? I just thought it was an interesting thing of like 82 days, start to finish.
Yeah, I feel like action movies usually like a lot of the pre-production stuff is building the sets and going on location. So yeah, I mean, it's probably expensive too to like, be like, hey, we need to rent out this street for like 2 days because the government ain't gonna allow it more than that. It's gonna cost us already $200,000. You know what I mean? So it kind of makes sense for this kind of movie. Like the movie is action movie needs to be quick. They gotta film quick. So
let's talk about this movie. So we, at the end of every Chronicles of Diesel episode, rank the movie in one of 2 ways. We rank the movie overall, we give our opinions on the movie, what we liked about it, didn't like, etc. Rank it compared to all the other movies that we've talked about for this podcast series. Mm-hmm. And then after we do that, we do the same kind of thing, but just specifically focusing on Vin Diesel, his performance, if he had any part in the producing, directing, anything like that. We examine all that stuff. And then we rank just that part. So a movie like Saving Private Ryan, which is our number 1 movie in the actual movie ranking lists, is also the second from the last in the Vin Diesel stuff, because Vin Diesel is not nearly as a part of the greatness of that film.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So put that out there. So let's talk about the movie itself. Before I recap what our ranking is, general thoughts about the film. Devin, what is your what are you thinking?
I was cautiously optimistic, like I said at the beginning of this episode, going into this. And from the very beginning, I was pulled in, and I had a very fun ride. It's like a million different things that I like all in one somehow. Like, I'm like, you have Rammstein. Okay, cool. You have crazy stunts. Cool. You have Vin Diesel. Cool. And then you have an early 2000s aesthetic and James Bond ripoff kind of feel to it, but in a good way.
You say it in video games all the time. It's hitting all your notes.
Yeah, it really did. So, like, honestly, came away with feeling like this might be one of my favorite movies ever. Not like ever, but like not like if I have like 100 movies, let's say, it might not be top 25, but I'm gonna throw it in the top 100 because this movie was fun. And I'm like, why haven't I seen this earlier? Like, this is so just my shit, and I didn't even realize it until the movie was over. I was like, damn, that was my shit. I need to own this movie.
So you came into the film cautiously optimistic. So my approach to the film, I knew we had to do it for this month, and I'm like, God, I don't really. I was expecting it to be boring or bad. Like, I knew it was one of the 3 Vin Diesel series that he was involved with, right? Fast and Furious, Chronicles of Riddick, and XXX. And my headcanon ranking for these and just what I imagined the perception on them was, so at least having not seen them all, besides Fast and Furious, obviously. Fast and Furious is the big one, is the great one. Then it's Chronicles of Riddick, and then XXX, because there weren't really all that many of them.
I see that.
And when we watched Pitch Black, I was excited and was extremely let down. My assumption was, well, this is going to be worse than that movie, because that's supposed to be better than this one. At least in my headcanon of not understanding or not, having looked into any of it. Just my perception. So I came in being like, this is going to be like fucking Pitch Black again. I'm going to have to like fucking pay attention to this. I can't be on my phone like I might be during Silent Hill, which came out last week on the Sonic Movie Show. I have to actually pay attention to this one. And I was like, actually, this is a really fun movie. Okay, this is cheesy in ways where I can't be like, I can't even say this is an 8 out of 10, but it's not a 6. You know what I mean? It's a you say it's dated in all of the right ways. I don't know if you've said that actually verbatim, but like you said that, right? And I don't disagree, because a lot of the things that can make it dated that other movies do and are dated, like Mission Impossible 2, which came out 2 years before this movie and is very, very bad. It does a lot of these things in ways that aren't dated. Like they hold up relatively well. The things that are obviously dated is obviously some of the technology, which you can't help that. You know what I mean? You can't help that. And just some of the CG, but like the CG is used so sparingly in ways where it is obvious, like the avalanche. A lot of the times where he is skydiving, like the snowboarding, it clearly looks like they took another shot and then composited it over rushing landscape. You know what I mean? There's stuff like that. It's like, this is obvious, but like they're so brief, they're used so sparingly. We mentioned Star Wars. That was the fucking green set era of Hollywood interest.
They could have easily CGI'd
didn't
half
do that.
the stunts and maybe save more money. I don't know. But they're like, no, we're going to keep to stunts because that will hold up longer. If you do physical stuff every time, it will hold up.
And apparently they were, CGing the heads back on people when they had helmets on, and I didn't notice that. Same way you wouldn't notice a stunt double's face, you know what I mean? Because they wouldn't want you to linger on it. So it's a lot of that stuff that I thought was actually pretty decently well done. Like, I'm like, okay, that's good. So as a whole, the movie was a fun ride. It wasn't something that I disliked. It wasn't something that I'm like, when I discovered Mission Impossible, I'm like, holy fuck, this is amazing. You know what I mean? But it's a fun ride, and this is definitely a movie that I would have on in the background if I see it. And that is one of the ways that we kind of rank some of these movies. So let's briefly talk about what our rankings are already, and then let's find a place for this, find a home for Xander Cage. So for our movie rankings themselves, a little quick recap. Number 1 is Saving Private Ryan. Number 2 is The Fast and the Furious. Number 3 is The Iron Giant. Number 4 is Awakenings. Number 5, Boiler Room. Number 6, Pitch Black. Number 7, Knockaround Guys, which was last episode. Number 8, Multifacial. And number 9, Strays. And if you want to know more of our opinions on those movies, go ahead and listen to those other episodes. We won't delve into detail on why they deserve the rankings as is. So I'm going to let you go first again, Devin.
Okay.
Where do you think XXX goes?
Like I said, this might be maybe my top 100 favorite movies. Just, maybe I haven't even seen 100 movies. I don't know. I've been alive.
You probably have.
I just don't remember some of them. But regardless, I had a really good time, and like I said, it hit me in all the right places. But I think it's more for me. But I guess I have to start high on it just because you're getting my opinion here. I honestly would put it out of these movies second. I liked it more than Fast and the Furious, I think.
Interesting.
Like, there's a lot of parts in the Fast and Furious where I'm like, can we skip this and get to like the driving? Like Paul Walker, no offense to him, at moments where I was just like, I don't care. Your acting's not that great in this scene. I don't care. I don't care about the dating with you're dating Vin Diesel's sister, whoever you are. Like, I'm like, come on. In this movie, like, there was every moment I'm just like, this is so cheesy cool. I love this, man. And like you said, like, you know, you'd have it on in the background. I've definitely ranked movies like that on previous episodes. And like, I would definitely want to sit down and watch this. Like, this is a movie where I'm like, if I have friends over, I don't drink, but if I did, like, we have some beers, we'd be laughing and just rocking with this movie. Like, it's a vibe, man. Like, for me personally. So I would put it at second, but I could definitely understand if you're going to put it lower.
So my headspace was that this is number 10. No, I'm kidding. I was actually going to put this at 3 because I actually, going in, think that Fast and Furious is a better movie. But the way you've said that kind of stuff is definitely making me lean the opposite. But to play devil's advocate to what you're saying, when we watched the Fast and the Furious, and we went and ranked it on this episode, which was episode 6 of the Chronicles of Diesel, our space was like, this would be number 1 if one of the greatest movies of all time wasn't on this list. You know what I mean? Yeah. This would be number 1. This is like, shockingly, this is our second time seeing the movie ever. And again, it was for a purpose of watching it together. But though we were social distancing, we were at different houses at the time. And we were like, fuck, no, this movie is amazing. Like, I unironically love this decently bad movie.
Yeah,
right?
and there might be some recency bias for me now. Like, for sure.
But that was our space going into it, and a lot of the things that we loved about it was like, if you accept it and you're all in, it rewards you. Yes. That's kind of what the Fast and Furious kind of does. It rewards you for being like, I'm in on this. So that's like my thinking about that film was like, this is something where it's like, I love that movie. You know what I mean? I love that movie.
And it took us a second viewing, though, to change our minds.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
So maybe it would change if I'm saying I loved XXX, and I can go in a second time and be like, oh, this wasn't all that. Like, I do think that movie, XXX, is a little bit long at moments, but at the same time, like, it rewards you with, like, oh, yeah, here's a whole other, like, stunt scene. Like, a whole other, like, it's like almost like 3 parts to that movie. Like, you have the first Columbia scene, in terms of like the stunts, you have that Columbia scene. Then you have the original castle raid, and then you have and then you have the snowboard / submarine chase,
avalanche. Oh yeah.
So like there's like big set pieces that Fast and Furious doesn't have.
It's tough for me. It's tough for me because they can each be second for different reasons.
Yes, I agree.
We can't do that. We can't do that. We have to definitively rank them. There are no ties. So, now thinking back on XXX, on xXx, see, it's they are so similar in a lot of ways because, like, the story is who cares? You know what I mean? Like, that's not the purpose or point, but the story was better in The Fast and the Furious.
For sure.
In terms of what it wanted to be narrative-wise. In terms of, like, setting up and positioning for scenes and set pieces and action, I would probably give that to XXX. I mean, the action, yes, I would give that to XXX. But, like, the setting up and reasons why we're jumping to scenes where we are, XXX, I think, wins that for me. But, like, there is no, and we're fucking at race wars in XXX, though. And, like, that's goofy, but, like, I don't know. I think I'm still on the Fast and the Furious being higher up than that. We both agree that it's higher than the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I don't know if you're dead set on number 2 and I'm on the fence. I guess that means it's a vote and a half for it being number 2.
Yeah, I mean,
so we can put it there.
But the thing is, you're saying all that. I'm like, is there some recency bias in this? I think so. I just think there's some weird shit.
Wait, that's unavoidable.
Yeah, and I think there is some weird shit in XXX that I just don't get in. Like, I love the Fast and the Furious, I really do, and like I said, my first negative thoughts about Fast and Furious comparing it to XXX is like, yeah, there's some scenes I really don't care. Like, I never really looked at my phone besides when I'm taking notes for XXX. In Fast and Furious, there might be some scenes that I'm like, okay, whatever, you know. But to be fair, I've seen it twice. You know what I mean? So there's that. But
it's tough.
It is tough because now I'm like kind of leaning like, oh, maybe it is 3. I don't know.
And it's gonna get tougher and tougher as we go on. When it's like we got to compare Fast and Furious 6, 7, 5, 6, 7.
I mean, it really depends on how we want to look at this because, like we're saying, our movie rankings is like how good is the movie, right? You know what I mean? Like if this was a action movie ranking, that'd be maybe number 2 for sure. Because
if I was a film reviewer, and I reviewed these two movies, I would probably put XXX just a little bit up above Fast and Furious. But I would then also argue back is that XXX is not route or by the numbers, but definitely one of the dime a dozen spy action flicks that were popping up back again during this time. With, you know, like I said, Mission Impossible is coming back around and reboots of that kind of stuff. And Fast and the Furious, while is definitely a Point Break kind of idea for a thing, feels a bit more original and a bit more, I don't want to say grounded because I don't care. Grounded does not mean it's better than fantastical. Like, that doesn't matter to me. But, like, a more, you could pull emotions from characters out of the Fast and the Furious as a part. That's why I say, like, the narrative is a little bit better than XXX.
I know, I agree.
If I could argue that way, too, it's just, this is tough.
But for Fast and Furious, on face value, the goal is, like, it's all about the cars. And, like, yeah, we get car stuff in it, but the action isn't that crazy. Like, XXX, from the very beginning, is like, this is going to be a spy movie, and there's going to be tons of action in it, and it doesn't ever change that.
Right. It does what it set out to be. I also think the same thing of the Fast and Furious in that phrasing. But, like, yeah, no, it doesn't falter or screw up the thing. When you could argue that the Fast and the Furious doesn't nail the street racing as well. So then
for a movie that came out, 2 years prior? Like, there's a lot of effects in it that are real bad. Like, the first race is real bad.
CG, and yes, and compared to how XXX handles it, yeah, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm more leaning. Like, I'm just liking action, like, because that's how I compare them. That's the one thing they have in common is they have action. That's supposed to be part of the movie is the stunts. When you think of Fast and Furious, people think of the stunts and Vin Diesel and the cast and crew, right? And doing those stunts. Yeah, there's like emotions in it, but I don't think that's the main selling point. The main selling point is like, oh, we're driving this car through 2 buildings while on the run from a helicopter or something. You know what I mean? And we don't get that until later on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we can...
I think it's official.
You want to do 2? Let's do it.
I think it's official. This is the rankings for the movies just in general. Number 1, Saving Private Ryan. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious. Number 3, The Iron Giant. No, I'm kidding.
I was gonna
go all the way through.
I was confused.
I was gonna go all the way through and put XXX at 10. Number 2 is XXX. I think we can safely.
It's a very close race, but as Vin said in Fast and the Furious, it doesn't matter if it's by an inch or a mile. A winner's a winner. So,
speaking about Vin Diesel, now let's talk about his performances.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let you go first again. Okay. What do you think about what he did and accomplished in this film? Keeping in mind, too, first film that he's the lead that he didn't make himself personally. Mm-hmm. You know,
I'm out of so the first rankings I think was. Oh, do you want to give the rankings first?
Our Vin Diesel performance rankings are as follows: Number 1, The Fast and the Furious. Number 2, Boiler Room. Number 3, Multifacial. Number 4, Pitch Black. 5, Knockaround Guys. 6, Strays. 7, The Iron Giant. 8, Saving Private Ryan. And number 9, Awakenings. That is our performance rankings as follows. What do you, Devin, think about his performance in
This one
XXX?
was a lot easier than the other one. Like, I knew this one right away. Number 1, I think Vin does a good job where he doesn't play the other characters we kind of see in the Fast and Furious and in, I guess you can say, was it Jesus Christ, Knockaround Guys, where he's just, I'm a tough guy Like, he's like, no, I'm an action star in this, and like I can do all these cool stunts, and I'm funny. I'm an asshole, but in a good way. Very snarky. And I think he just kills it, honestly. And like, there was no scene where I'm like, that was bad. Like, I felt like he felt like the best actor throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, okay. That last line you say there actually does seal it a bit more for me. I was actually willing to put this at number 2. Again, trying to give the Fast and the Furious some credit. This is his first instance where he is a lead. And I also think that, weirdly enough, he is, for Vin Diesel, he is the best actor in the movie. Which you would not say that about anything else. Like, just instinctually, that's not what you think. You know what I mean? The joke is that he's bad. We don't think that, and that's why this exploration is to help set ease into our minds about our thoughts and feelings about Vin Diesel. And he does everything really well, and everything looks as if he almost had a hand in how he would have the lines and actions written for his character, which he was not a part of that decision making at all. He probably, I mean, this is the second movie he's done with Rob Cohen, again, director of The Fast and the Furious. Shout out to him for topping our list for his Vin Diesel performances.
You're leading the way.
But to once again put devil's advocate to the metal here.
Pedal to the metal.
Vin Diesel was not the lead in The Fast and the Furious. And we can't see that movie as if he was. Or we see that movie as if he was. He was such a fucking standout in that film. That line about his dad's car and how he beat the man and how he went from this pure rage to like a sympathetic character in that one monologue that he had in The Fast and the Furious. The way he's able to... The character is said to be gravity to all the people that draw him in around it. That's what Jordana Brewster says to Paul Walker about Dominic Toretto, the character. But at the same time, fucking Vin Diesel owns that idea. That's not just something that was thrown out there. He literally does draw everyone to him. All those other actors to him.
I mean, literally, look at this show. We're drawn to him.
I mean, yes. Of course, you could argue that we titled it after the other franchise that isn't.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't want it to be I'm not saying, no, fuck you, you're wrong. It's not XXX #1. But I just want to throw it out there that this isn't just an automatic. Nope. It's obviously XXX #1. I want to throw all that out there. He shocked us for how good he was in that movie, considering all the roles he had up until then, especially with Pitch Black being the previous movie we watched, where it was like, ugh, you know what I mean?
And he wasn't really like the bad part in that movie. The movie just wasn't that good, and he couldn't carry it, so to say.
Right, he wasn't given enough to do enough. Although you could argue that just like The Fast and the Furious, that movie was also not about him and then became about him in later sequels because of how good he was. Here he's starting out with XXX. He's starting out as it being all about him. He doesn't have that wow factor to prove beyond it. It's like, where do you go from there? It's actually you, the audience member, that's him the whole time. That doesn't make any sense, you know? So I just want to throw that out there that, like, The Fast and the Furious hit us. Of like, no, like, he can act. He's got range. Here, he doesn't really have that much range. It is just action movie, well done action movie, you know, effects and efforts that he does. There is the couple scenes where with Yelena, where he is trying to tap down into that slower and softer gravitas to his acting, and it doesn't hit nearly the levels that The Fast and the Furious is able to do. I would say that is the one parts of this movie where it's not really all that well done, and they brush it aside really quickly, so you don't see it. The scene where she says, "Oh yes, I'm a Russian spy," and the blah blah blah. Like, yes, you get facial expressions from him. You get maybe a little bit into the windows of his soul through his eyes. There, seeing maybe what his thoughts are. But to me, it's not as consistently. Here is the range of emotion and acting he can do in XXX that he shows and has proven to us in The Fast and the Furious. But at the same time, this movie is all about him, which needs to stand for something. You
That's
know
what
what I
I'm
mean?
saying. It's like, let's
this
say
needs
this
to
movie's-
be
let's say
that.
he was bad in this movie. I think we would knock him more for him being bad, and you're the
for
main
tanking
guy.
the film. Yeah, that you tank the film like that. So yeah, I mean, I say all that about the Fast and the Furious, but then you saying he is the best actor in this movie, and it's not a joke. Like, you're not wrong. He is the best actor in XXX. As weird as it is to say out loud, he is. And that has the opposite thing of he's not taking the movie, he's rising it. This movie would be a lot worse if it was someone else that wasn't as good as him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that also needs to be said. So I'm on your side on putting XXX at number 1, but I wanted to throw a bone for like the fucking reason why we're here in the first place.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. The Fast and the Furious, he did stand out, and that definitely deserves, I think, praise. I think if anything, it might deserve more praise in a way than XXX. But when you're given a home run ball, you're supposed to hit the home run. You know what I mean? And he got the lead role, and he did a good job. You know, like, what else can you ask for? You know what I mean? It'd be, like I said, it'd be worse if he struck out. You know what I mean? When Fast and the Furious, I think, keep that baseball analogy, is they threw one that you weren't supposed to hit, and you hit it, and you got a home run off it. Maybe.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And now you're first in the batting order. Now you were 8th or 5th before.
Yeah, now you're first. Yeah, you're
I don't know baseball, but I'm pretending
you might be
that's
third,
how it
depending
works.
if you're whatever. Don't worry.
Do you
about
want to lead with your biggest gun? Maybe that's not something you want to do. Is there like a strategy in politics to that? Don't answer that because I don't care. That's not what I mean. So there you have it. Our official rankings for the Vin Diesel performance ranking. Number 1, XXX. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious. Number 3, Boiler Room. Number 4, Multifacial. 5 was Pitch Black. 6 is Knockaround Guys. 7 is Strays. 8 is The Iron Giant. Number 9 was Saving Private Ryan. And number 10 was Awakenings. And again, if you want our opinions, I mean, we went into the Fast and the Furious a bit for our opinions on his performance there. But like, if you want the full opinions on all that stuff for all those other movies, listen to those other episodes. They're even better than this one. But I probably shouldn't say that because I think we're always supposed to be getting better than the previous.
Always,
but
just like Vin Diesel.
You will like them.
Always like Vin Diesel. So far, I guess that is kind of the recent trend. I think the only like down slope he had was with Pitch Black. I think like he had a slow rise generally.
Yeah,
and then he kind of dipped.
Now,
but now he back.
So we forgot one of the big elements of why we're doing this and like our angle for this.
Yeah,
and our ranking is set. This doesn't change my opinion, and it's already set in stone. But remember, at the very first episode, we decided we have an angle now. We have an angle now on how we want to judge all of these movies. We think we found a common theme. The theme of not being who you are on the outside and being someone else on the inside, and a struggle on showing that. Fast and the Furious does that. XXX doesn't. That's all I'm saying. That's our rankings, though.
Yeah.
And if you liked this episode, I'm sure you will be pleased to know that there are other episodes just like this one on this very podcast feed. We do a bunch of other movie reviews for video game movies on the Sonic Movie Show. We just had one last week. It was about Silent Hill for our big Halloween festivities. We don't go into as much detail as we do for Vin Diesel because we have to put all our eggs in one basket here. All right, it's going to be in the Vin Diesel basket. But if you like this episode, I bet you'd like those as well. The Sonic Movie Show is a weekly podcast, so we do a lot of stuff for that you can find every week. Chronicles of Diesel, as I'm sure you know, is monthly, so our next episode will be on December 1st, last one of the year.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's going to be for a 2003 movie called A Man Apart.
Oh, boy.
Just over 100 minutes, and according to my note here that I wrote back in March, he has a partial producer credit.
Okay.
So it's something that we will look into when we do that episode. So stay tuned for that episode. And if you want to hear more of our thoughts, Vin Diesel, Sonic the Hedgehog, or otherwise, follow the show on Twitter at Sonic Movie Show. We had a couple Shrek tweets there in a row. I guess we do that too now.
The Shrek
so
podcast coming soon.
if you like that, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. Nicolas Cage is way more important than Shrek. If you want my opinions on why I think Shrek sucks, follow me on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely. I will probably never tweet about Shrek, but whatever. That's the kind of biting unlikableness that I contribute to online. Whenever there's an unpopular opinion, it's always a negative one for me. It's not something you should really do. It's a dime a dozen. If you want to listen to Devin's sports shit on Twitter, it's at CURSONA YouTube. He tweets a lot about fucking football, and I have sometimes I debate
Sunday
muting
from
him.
September to like January or February.
Sometimes I debate whether or not I actually want to remain following him on Twitter.
Damn.
Because I'm like scrolling through and he's like, "It's D's." I'm like, "Is this a D's nuts
It's
reference?"
Dez, but
I
sure,
don't
Dez
I
Bryant.
don't know, and I don't care.
D's is 2 E's.
But you out there do care, and you are going to follow him on Twitter. And then we will see you next month and also next week, depending on what you like.
A man apart? How about a month apart till the next episode of Chronicles of Diesel?
Damn, I had no idea that this movie was on this list. Besides, when
I totally
put it in
forgot
there.
about it. I've never heard of it, so I guess I'm excited though. We'll see.
And then after that is the Chronicles of Riddick.
We're
so
back.
Exciting.
Let's get it.
All right, goodbye. What's the outro for this? Oh, it's the song,
Yeah.
but like, do we say anything? I'm Sonic.
I'm Sonic. I'm Vin Diesel. I don't know.
and I'm signing off.
What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race. Ride or die, remember?